It all began on the day the world collapsed after humanity's greatest heroes were defeated by the invaders. Amidst the scene of utter destruction, only two warriors remained, struggling to catch their breath. The sacred swordsman Zenon Glorious desperately wondered if they were truly the last ones left alive. The mage Earth sadly confirmed that all their other comrades had fallen in battle. She lamented that even their most powerful allies had stood no chance against the enemy's destructive might. Determined to keep fighting, Zenon asked Earth to focus solely on supporting him in the fray. The swordsman drew his massive weapon, clearly signaling his intent to go all out against his opponent. Zenon aimed to unleash a single precise strike. Earth warned that even if everyone joined forces, they couldn't defeat it, but the warrior refused to even consider retreating at that moment. The warrior then prepared his powerful sword technique, channeling intense light energy into his blade. With a focused gaze, he activated the final form of his fighting style, unleashing a terrifying, brilliant golden aura. Seeing that massive amount of energy, Earth realized her companion truly had no intention of giving up. The swordsman leaped forward with his glowing blade, charging straight at the giant monster clad in dark armor. The monster reached out a colossal hand covered in red flames to block the hero's shining attack. Zenon gritted his teeth as he felt the overwhelming pressure of the enemy's fire, which was attempting to consume him. Despite facing heavy resistance, the warrior continued to push his focused attack through his opponent's flames. He managed to land a slash on the monster's sturdy armor, causing it to crack under the power of the holy sword. Knowing he needed more strength to overcome the enemy, the swordsman desperately called for Earth's aid. The mage quickly responded and began casting support magic as a blue aura surrounded her body. She created magical platforms in midair to help the hero gain momentum and increase the speed of his attack. The monster dealt a crushing blow to the ground, but Zenon successfully dodged by jumping high off the platforms. He used the last of his energy to launch himself into the sky, preparing for his most powerful move. Letting out a battle cry, the warrior funneled all his remaining holy lightning into his sword of light. Zenon struck the monster head-on, triggering a massive golden explosion that illuminated the entire battlefield. Earth was stunned by the impressive power of that technique and believed they might actually have a chance. However, she panicked when she saw the monster still standing, completely unscathed after taking the hit. Despite facing such absurd resistance, the swordsman refused to stop and tried to continue attacking the enemy. The extreme effort took its toll, and the hero eventually suffered heavy damage due to the severe strain on his body. Worried, Earth screamed a warning that his physical structure wouldn't hold up if he continued to push himself like that. Despite the warning, Zenon insisted on fighting and continued to muster all the remaining energy he could possibly mobilize. Recognizing the reckless determination of her friend, the mage wore the expression of someone who had made an extreme decision. She reached into her robe and pulled out a mysterious item she had been hiding. The young girl summoned a prison of light that completely restrained Zenon, leaving him deeply confused. Earth explained that he was the last hope to save the world, so she would not let him fall here. The warrior shouted that if they didn't defeat the monster right now, everything would be lost. She said she was entrusting everything to him because she firmly believed he could change this terrible fate. The mage then revealed a golden pocket watch. It was a magical relic passed down through many generations of her family. A massive red magic circle appeared above them as she warned that there was no more time for explanations. Earth asked Zenon to promise that at the next opportunity, he would not let those bastards win. The watch began to glow intensely, while the hero demanded to know what she was planning to do. The mage said she was placing the fate of the world in his hands, but the swordsman begged to be released to fight. The magic circle activated in front of Zenon, enveloping the hero in a powerful and mysterious light. With tears in her eyes, she said goodbye to her battle companion, wearing a sad but accepting smile. A massive beam of blue light shot straight into the sky, marking the activation of the ultimate magic. The energy spread destructively, consuming everything in the vicinity during the magical process. After the great burst of light, the mysterious pocket watch fell onto the desolate battlefield, covered in cracks. The golden relic was left on the barren ground, completely ruined by the fierce battle. Collapsed on the ground and extremely weak, Earth coughed violently as she tried to stay conscious after using the relic. Looking toward the horizon, the young girl managed a faint smile as she realized the teleportation spell had succeeded. That was the mysterious watch of the ancients, a legendary item capable of altering reality and causing reincarnation. Zenon's soul drifted through endless space while listening to the final words of hope from his friend. Urith offered one last silent prayer, begging that he might be able to change the chaotic reality of that world. Fallen on the ground and severely wounded, the young mage prayed that her desperate wish for salvation would come true. Amidst a massive explosion, in her thoughts, she expressed a desire to win his heart in the next life. The scene shifts to a villa. The warrior woke up in a panic, shouting his companion's name inside a magnificent palace in broad daylight. Now with black hair, he stood up in confusion on a luxurious bed. Feeling a sharp pain in his head, he looked around the lavish noble room and realized this was surely the effect of the time travel relic. The young man looked at himself, desperately trying to understand what had just happened to his reality. Just then, a young maid entered the room looking slightly panicked and asked if everything was all right. He ordered her to bring his weapons so he could return to the fight, but she thought the young master Noah had just had a nightmare. Confused by being called by a different name, he asked who she was, and the young girl introduced herself as Lydia, his maid. The young man gripped his wrists as he realized the texture of his skin was completely different. He was deeply shocked as he looked at his hands, realizing this was definitely not his original body. The young man wondered if he had possessed someone else's body or if something even more bizarre had happened. He directly asked where they were and who he was, leaving the maid extremely worried about his behavior. Lydia took a step back, wondering if he was acting strangely because of delirium from a high fever. Unable to be patient, the young man grabbed her shoulders, demanding that she immediately answer his direct questions. She revealed that this was the Dasker residence and he was the fourth son of the family, known as young master Noah Daskell. When asked about the kingdom's calendar, she replied that it was currently the year 850. The warrior realized the relic had sent him back in time, 10 years before the apocalyptic invasion began. Even worse, he had reincarnated straight into the fearsome Daskell family, the sworn enemies of sacred swordsmen like him. Just then, there was a knock at the door announcing the arrival of another person who introduced herself as Selena. Another maid entered the room carrying a bowl and said she had brought medicine for the young master. She said that Master Scar had prepared this dose out of pure concern for the young master's frail health. The young man stared at the bowl of medicine with extreme suspicion in his deep purple eyes. He analyzed the red liquid and began to suspect that there was something very wrong with the ingredients in the dose. With a quick slap, he knocked the bowl away, causing it to shatter on the floor and frightening the two maids present. 3 house guards entered the room with serious expressions. Noah harshly asked them who they were. The squad leader said they had heard suspicious noises, so they decided to check if there was a problem. The long-haired guard observed the situation with a cold, calculating gaze that didn't go unnoticed. He scolded Noah for wasting Master Scar's kindness and warned that he would bring a new dose immediately. Noah mocked the word medicine, causing the guard to threaten to use force if he continued to insult his master. The young man then challenged the guard himself to drink the liquid, directly accusing it of actually being poison. Thanks to his old strength, he knew that holy energy would repel evil, and the color of this dose confirmed it was tainted. Seeing he had been exposed, the squad leader said he would be forced to make him drink it. Noah smiled arrogantly, realizing the masks of fake loyalty they wore had finally fallen off. The young man said these guards would make excellent punching bags for him to start getting used to the reflexes of this body. With a provocative look, the warrior warned that he would have some fun while dealing with the traitors. The leader ordered 2 of his underlings to step forward and restrain the young master by force. The 2 underlings obeyed immediately and began moving toward him under the worried gazes of the 2 maids. One attacker reached out to grab Noah, but the young man was ready to counterattack. He dodged flexibly and landed a powerful kick right in the stomach of the first guard. The guy gasped for air and flew backward, slamming hard into the wall. Feeling the full weight of the blow, the second guard rushed in a rage, throwing a punch, but Noah ducked down extremely gracefully. He took advantage of the opening and landed a powerful uppercut, hitting his opponent precisely on the chin. Seeing the 2 go down, Noah realized this new body was still weak, so he couldn't knock them out completely yet. He decided he would investigate the motive behind this poisoning plot. As soon as he cleaned up the mess, the leader ordered the rest of the guards to draw their swords to finish the job. No longer concerned about hurting Noah, the hero prepared to fight seriously, but he was surprised when something strange appeared before his eyes. Information panels displaying the stats and abilities of his enemies appeared in midair as they screamed for him to surrender. Noah was amazed to see the appraisal window pop up, revealing the attributes of those surrounding him. He wondered where this rare skill came from, while noting that the opponent's technique was at a very low level. Two guards rushed to attack, swinging their swords down, but the young man dodged them skillfully and easily. One guard had no time to react as he saw Noah's fist flying toward his face at terrifying speed. The young man threw a devastating roundhouse kick, knocking his opponent to the ground with ease and force. Taking advantage of the fallen enemy, Noah seized a guard's weapon and gripped the sword firmly. The remaining one saw this and charged in to throw a direct attack. But Noah stopped the strike cold with his new weapon. The young man skillfully pushed the traitor back, leaving the two maids astonished at the scene. The leader sarcastically praised his strength, and Noah provoked him not to just stand there but to make a real move. Suddenly, Noah's eyes widened as he felt a dangerous and dramatic change occurring within his own energy. A dark purple mist began to radiate from his body, revealing the terrifying presence of a dark core. This core was the signature dark energy source of the fearsome swordsmen of the Daskell family. Conversely, the holy core was the source of divine light that originally belonged to the old glorious bloodline. Under normal conditions, these two opposing forces could absolutely not coexist in a warrior's body. The leader laughed loudly when he saw the dark core spinning out of control, and decided to reveal a horrific secret to the young master. He revealed that the previous dose was actually poison designed to overload his dark energy. The villain explained that his effort to fight had triggered a chaotic energy flow that would destroy Noah from the inside. Realizing the danger as his body was about to collapse, the hero decided to bet everything on a desperate survival gamble. He tried something unprecedented, manipulating the two opposing energy flows inside his chest. At the same time, he used the cleansing energy of the holy core to suppress the savage advance of the dark power. The guard leader mocked the hero's desperate effort and prepared the first move of his dark technique. The villain rushed forward like a blurred red shadow, throwing an attack so fast it seemed to tear through space. Noah remained calm and focused, tracking the attacker's movements despite the heavy pressure. He raised his sword at the perfect moment, blocking the sudden lunge and creating a massive shockwave of energy. The villain was stunned to see the young master could react in time to a stealth attack fueled by dark energy. Angry at being blocked, the guard called him a weakling and warned him to know his place. Noah gave a cold stare, showing he wasn't provoked by the meaningless insults. The young man swung his sword in a perfect circle, creating a brilliant golden shield of light around him. His opponent retaliated by channeling a massive amount of dark mist and unleashed a destructive attack toward him. The two massive energy streams collided, creating a spectacular showdown between golden light and red darkness. The guard began to feel the terrifying pressure from Noah's attack and realized he was about to be completely overwhelmed. Noah seized the opening to slash through the enemy's darkness with a series of fast and precise sword strikes. With a flexible leap, he hit his opponent, tearing through clothes and inflicting a deep wound. Noah analyzed his opponent's limits and knew he needed to end the match early before his own body collapsed. The villain tried to keep up an arrogant facade, mocking the visible exhaustion Noah was showing. Noah smiled back and pointed out that the enemy's polite way of speaking had disappeared, revealing sheer desperation and panic. Annoyed by the young man's insolence, the villain lunged, throwing a frenzied attack surrounded by thick darkness. He screamed in anger, insisting that Noah would never predict or escape his presence. The concealment technique activated, and Noah was surrounded by a whirlwind of red mist that blocked all vision and attempted to completely disorient him. The two maids watched anxiously from afar, unable to see the young master who had vanished into the dark attack. Noah focused entirely on his combat intuition, letting his aura shine brilliantly through the haze. The young man identified the opponent's blind spot and threw a precise slash right in the middle of the villain's hidden lunge. A violent explosion erupted in the middle of the room, bringing the clash of swords to an abrupt and powerful end. The soldier collapsed to the ground, severely injured, unable to comprehend how the young master had managed to overcome his secret technique. Noah explained that even though he had concealed his body, his aura remained exposed because he was relying too heavily on a simple trick. Completely shocked, the villain collapsed on the floor, exhausted, struggling to understand the source of such overwhelming power. Noah held his sword firmly, calmly revealing that even he did not fully understand the limits of this new hybrid power yet. He pondered how his old holy core and the new dark core had integrated so perfectly. He realized that his power was now a flawless fusion of his original holy core and the dark core of his new body. The young man reflected that if he could master this unprecedented hybrid power, he would be capable of saving the world once again. With a faint smile, he silently thanked his departed friend Urith for giving him new hope. The servants rushed over to the young man in a panic, checking to see if he was injured and if they needed to call a doctor. Noah insisted he was fine, but his attention was caught by a small, winged black creature that had appeared at his bedroom window. It was a small messenger dragon holding an important, sealed letter in its mouth. Lydia took the letter and explained that it was an official summons directly from the head of the family, Lord Victor. The maid handed the sealed letter to the young master, warning him that the family head wanted to confirm his participation in the struggle for succession. Noah stared at the paper with a thoughtful expression, knowing he needed to gather intelligence on this succession war to plan for the future. The hero decided to ask the two maids if they knew the details behind the terrible conflict between the heirs. Lydia immediately confirmed, adding that every servant in the Daskell house was familiar with the rules of the challenge. She explained that the conflict was designed to strengthen the bloodline and was essentially a hunt for power cores. In this struggle, siblings would fight one another, and the winner would gain the right to claim the loser's dark core for themselves. Noah realized with horror that for generations, members of this family had been destroying each other to fight for the position of leader. The young maid anxiously asked if the young master truly intended to risk his life to participate in such a cruel trial. Flashing a mysterious smile, the young man answered with confidence that she would soon find out the answer. He recalled that in his previous life, the glorious family was loved by the people as a true symbol of divine justice. However, the Daskell family was the complete opposite, feared and hated for using the forbidden power of the Dark Core. Though mysterious, everyone knew that the current family head, Victor Daskell, was considered the strongest swordsman in humanity. Dressed in elegant, formal attire, the young man headed toward the main gates of the Great Hall. Determined to understand this place, he took a deep breath, focusing on seeing with his own eyes the truth hidden behind this notorious crime family. The young man entered the Great Hall majestically, formally announcing his presence as Noah Daskell. He walked down the red carpet, observing his siblings, who were waiting, lined up in the center of the hall. Noah moved with slow, elegant steps, carefully analyzing the stance of every member of his new family. The eldest son of the bloodline was Damien Daskell, a warrior in heavy armor with an extremely serious expression. Beside him was Julia Daskell, the eldest daughter, with long silver hair and a cold, distant expression. The second son was Cease Daskell, a messy-haired blonde who looked completely bored and indifferent. The second daughter was Eve Daskell, a black-haired girl who maintained a silent and calm demeanor. Suddenly, Noah's gaze filled with rage when he saw the brother responsible for plotting to ruin his health. It was the third son, Skull Daskell, the redhead who had poisoned him. Julia silently noticed the change in Noah, and the young man confirmed that he had finally discovered the cause of his illness. When asked, the young man surprised everyone by declaring that he would put all his effort into training his swordsmanship. Julia narrowed her eyes in suspicion, realizing the drastic change in her younger brother's attitude. Skull chimed in to mock him, laughing at the idea of training and advising Noah not to waste his time in vain. Noah retorted that a coward who dared not face him directly should keep his mouth shut. Skull flew into a rage at his brother's arrogant reply, gritting his teeth and threatening to finish him off. Eve stepped forward with authority, telling both of them to be quiet and warning that the time for bickering was over. A guard at the scene loudly announced that the powerful family head, Lord Victor, had just arrived in the Great Hall. Heavy footsteps echoed across the red carpet as the terrifying leader approached his majestic iron throne. The older children immediately closed their eyes and bowed their heads, showing deep respect for the formidable family head. The younger siblings followed suit, showing the extreme fear and submission they all held for their father. Noah felt a chill run down his spine as he faced the overwhelming aura emitting a terrifying amount of power. He recognized the legendary black-armored swordsman whose feats were famous in his previous life. It was the terrifying Victor Daskell, a 9-star dark swordsman considered the strongest in the world. The family head sat on the throne, observing the gathered group and remarking with satisfaction that all the heirs were present. Victor crossed his arms majestically and officially declared the start of the council for the succession struggle. He focused his stern gaze on his fourth son and explained that this summons was to confirm Noah's intention. The family head asked what the young man intended to achieve with the weak body that had miraculously survived his illness. The young man gave a faint, sarcastic, and confident smile, proving he was not at all afraid of his father's authority. With determination, Noah announced loud and clear that he would participate in the war and would be the sole winner. Victor threatened to ask if his son was really prepared to declare war on all the candidates present here. Noah calmly replied that his father's assumption was wrong, making the powerful family head curious at such insolence. The young man then clarified that his true intention was to declare war on absolutely everyone in this hall. Damien and Julia heard the declaration with contempt, while Noah saw them purely as obstacles he needed to overcome. The hero knew very well that the list of rivals he needed to defeat was not limited to his biological siblings. He showed extraordinary courage when he included the family head Victor on the list of opponents he intended to surpass. Noah gave a provocative smile, clearly asserting to everyone that he would not even spare his own father in the struggle. Irritated, Victor released a massive wave of dark energy that slammed into the hero with extreme, violent force. The pressure from the family head's dark aura was so great that it began to crack the hall's massive stone pillars. Debris fell from the walls as the terrifying amount of destructive power flooded the room. Despite suffering under the crushing pressure, Noah still bravely stood his ground, recognizing the true, terrifying power of the family head. Victor glanced at him with contempt and asked if the young master truly believed he was capable of overcoming his power. Noah gave a fearless smile and replied briefly, directly confirming yes without hesitating for a single second. The father continued the interrogation, wanting to know the real reason the young man sought such a massive amount of power. The hero answered seriously that he sought power to ensure that no one could ever take anything away from him again in this new life. Hearing that selfishly ambitious answer, the family head let out a loud laugh, revealing pure satisfaction. Victor said he liked that attitude and that such greed was a very admirable quality for a Dazquil heir. The family head declared that Noah would participate in the struggle and challenged any heir who objected to step forward. The siblings reacted differently, while the ruthless Scar became furious to see that his plan to eliminate him had failed. The powerful leader ordered Noah to always be hungry for power, encouraging the heir to always seek more raw strength. The next day, the young man found himself in the sunny training courtyard of the mansion, ready to begin a grueling training regimen. With quick and precise movements, he slashed at the straw training mannequin, testing the precision and speed of his blade. The mannequin was sliced in half, and Noah observed the result while the two maids watched the practice from afar with admiring eyes. He felt his physical condition had improved significantly, but he knew he was still just at the basic limit to be able to fight. Because of the fusion of the two cores, he could not use normal light techniques or the family's dark moves. The young man focused his attention on his hands, trying to uncover the secrets and potential of this hybrid power. Noah realized he needed to hide the existence of the holy core from everyone to avoid them discovering his true identity. Suddenly, Julia appeared at the training area, observing the young man and remarking that he moved quite well for someone who had just been bedridden. She commented that previously only Damien was the father's favorite child, but now Noah had also caught the family head's attention. Julia approached the weapon rack, revealing she had come to personally test her younger brother's new combat capabilities. With a serious face, she gripped a wooden sword and told her brother that they would start immediately. Not giving Noah time to react, she launched a surprise attack, catching the hero off guard by her aggression. He was forced to jump back extremely fast to dodge the agile attack from his sister. Julia gave a sly, sarcastic smile and asked if he really thought she had only come to talk. Noah clicked his tongue in annoyance, realizing he would have no time to rest and had to fight seriously against this powerful relative. Julia lunged forward, unleashing a series of extremely flexible consecutive slashes in the training yard. The hero used his training sword to block the strikes, taking advantage of the fight to learn the limits of his current strength. Julia increased her attack speed, continuously thrusting accurately, attempting to break his defense. She stomped her foot hard on the ground. Then she launched a direct kick. Although the protagonist used his sword to block it, his body was still pushed backward. Julia remarked that her brother was indeed talented, but his level was still far from being acceptable. Noah viewed Julia's data window and discovered she was a formidable 7-star warrior. The hero smirked when confirming his sister's impressive power, realizing that defeating this opponent would be very difficult. The girl called his performance disappointing and lunged in a rage, unleashing a fatal slash at high speed. Noah's eyes widened, astonished by the absurd speed of the attack hurtling dangerously toward his body. With no other choice, he gripped the wooden sword tightly and activated the power of his hybrid core, radiating a powerful mixed energy. The young man blocked the terrifying impact, parrying his sister's blade at the last second amidst the sound of clashing energy. The hero had to use his massive physical strength to withstand the pressure. He realized his holy dark core was still very unstable. With a quick movement, he pushed her sword aside and countered flexibly, releasing a powerful burst of mixed light. Julia blocked the blow, but asked in surprise if this was the holy dark core rumored to be a failure. She reminded him that she had heard rumors his core had been disabled since birth, and Noah pondered that thought. Curious, Noah realized this body had possessed the holy dark core from the start, and everyone had judged it to be disabled. He concluded that since no one knew his power was a rare mixture, fighting for real would not be a problem. The young man was momentarily distracted, and Julia sarcastically commented that he seemed to be enjoying himself quite a bit. Noah lunged forward, unleashing a downward slash with all his mixed energy glowing around the blade. Julia dodged extremely easily and closed the distance, calling her brother's name in a calm voice. She asked if he knew the true goal of the succession struggle, and the young man confirmed he knew the answer. Julia said that would save time, as Noah's wooden sword was sent flying far across the training yard. The girl was shrouded in thick, cold, dark mist and coldly asked Noah if she could take his core. The hero's eyes widened, extremely shocked and tense as he realized his sister's sudden ruthless intention. Noah desperately shouted for Selena, demanding she bring his real sword, and the servant ran to obey. The maid threw the metal sword powerfully into the air for the young master to defend himself in time. Noah leaped up to grab the hilt, focusing all his electrical power to resist his sister's advance. A massive clash of red and purple energy occurred, causing the young man to groan in pain under the terrifying impact. Noah gritted his teeth, trying to withstand the absurd physical strength that the girl was putting into his blade. Julia continuously unleashed flexible sword movements, but the young man still blocked the attacks skillfully. He focused his purple gaze on the enemy's blade, looking for openings in Julia's fighting style. The girl gave a sarcastic laugh and admitted her brother had surprised her in a positive way. She enthusiastically demanded he show more skill while continuing to press him with aggressive attacks. Julia stepped back, jumped rearward, and challenged Noah to see if he could handle her next special move. The girl prepared her stance, executing a special dark combat stance called the Dark Fire Sword Dance. Noah realized the danger of that overwhelming attack and decided to use all available energy to stop it. Julia lunged, unleashing a burning red dark fire slash straight down at the young man. The hero blocked the blow in the final millisecond, creating a large explosion with red and yellow sparks. The terrifying impact of the two swords generated a gust of wind that forced the maids to shield themselves from the flying dust. The girl noticed his defensive posture and provocatively asked if he intended to keep fighting with only one hand. She challenged him to use both hands if he wanted to resist the incredible raw power she was applying in this match. Naturally, the male lead swerved to the side, causing his older sister to lose her momentum and lunge forward. Seizing the opportunity, the male lead tightened his grip on his sword to attack. However, with every excellent reaction of his, Julia still managed to bring her sword behind her back to block. With a grunt of effort, the young master used his full strength to push back his sister's powerful weapon. Noah gave a sarcastic smile, realizing he had finally forced his sister to use both hands to defend. Although he blocked it, the pressure of the blow still knocked Noah back, sending the young man sliding at high speed across the ground. He gritted his teeth in anger, feeling exhaustion and extreme soreness from the violent exchange with his sister. The young man broke the impact momentum, cracking the stone tiles on the training floor with his feet due to the force. Julia watched him with an extremely serious gaze in silence. Analyzing the current exhausted state of the youngest heir, Noah gasped, realizing that using his full hybrid power was barely enough to parry that blow. The young warrior anxiously noticed his hands were shaking violently from the energy overload. He silently lamented that this was his current physical limit that his unstable hybrid core could withstand. Julia asked if he knew why members of the Daskell house didn't kill each other at the very beginning of the struggle. She explained that weak dark cores develop slowly, so no one pays attention to the weak heirs. The girl said harvesting a core before it reached a good level was useless, simultaneously focusing her gaze on her dark weapon. She added that Noah had blocked and countered her attack in an extremely unexpected way. Julia switched to a hostile stance, declaring that a core with such durability was already worth taking. Noah clicked his tongue, quite annoyed when realizing his sister was about to attack him with real ruthless intent. Julia lunged, gathering black flames on her blade to execute the 8th form of her combat style. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out, ordering her to stop the attack immediately, cutting off the girl's fatal action. An armored warrior named Kyle quickly appeared, blocking Julia's downward slash with his own sword. Kyle shouted desperately, warning the girl that if she continued that violent attack, Noah would truly be finished. Julia told him not to interfere with the core struggle, but he retorted that Noah's core was currently at a very low rank. Julia coolly replied that it was impossible because her younger brother had blocked her strongest strike, while Noah stood right behind Kyle with an exhausted look, gritting his teeth as he stared at his formidable opponent. Kyle explained that he had investigated at the family head's request and confirmed that Noah's core had completely exhausted all its power. He asked how a supposedly much stronger core couldn't last any longer before hitting such a basic limit. Noah was utterly drained as he tried to recover his strength after the fierce confrontation with his sister. Realizing his condition, Julia sheathed her sword and admitted that she might have been wrong about the boy's true power. She specifically warned her brother that she still intended to take his core in the future. The young woman challenged her brother to a real battle once he was stronger and his power had evolved. Noah wore a confident smile and told his sister that he would be looking forward to that real fight. As she left the training grounds, Julia began to think there was something very strange about Noah's abilities. She recalled the impact of their clash, knowing that the strike absolutely could not have been blocked by someone at such a low level. She concluded with suspicion that her brother was hiding his true combat potential. Julia chuckled softly, finding the entire situation extremely interesting and intriguing, hoping that Noah would grow in a fascinating way. Meanwhile, roars of pure fury echoed from another corner of the mansion. Skull appeared in a fit of wild rage, smashing a glass against a subordinate's forehead as his hatred surged. He couldn't accept that a weakling like Noah was allowed to participate in the Great Succession struggle. He roared in frustration, because even he hadn't received that much attention from the family head throughout his life. He bellowed that he would never accept this situation. The subordinate then cautiously approached and whispered an important secret into his master's ear. Upon hearing the information, Skull broke into a cunning smile, revealing that he had just had a quite interesting idea. With a crazed look in his eyes, the villain swore he would brutally drag Noah out of this succession race. Back at the training ground, Kyle apologized for being late and formally introduced himself in front of Noah and the maids. The warrior revealed that he had been officially tasked by the family head to be the young master's new combat instructor. He explained that the family head ordered the training to make up for the time the young master had spent bedridden. Noah activated his special appraisal skill to analyze the new instructor's power level in detail. He saw that the man's stats were very impressive and concluded that his capabilities were more than sufficient. Kyle asked if they should begin training, but the young master hesitated upon noticing the man was holding a piece of paper. The warrior reached forward, handing over a sealed letter, and said he had received direct orders from family head Victor. Noah opened the letter and read that it was his first official mission: to investigate and eradicate a dangerous source of miasma. This dangerous phenomenon attracted terrible monsters and could only be stopped after defeating the area's leader. Noah smiled faintly, realizing this risky mission might be the perfect opportunity he needed. He planned to take advantage of the circumstances of this difficult mission to evolve his power without raising suspicion. Deep in the forest, a guard stepped forward with a glowing sword, slicing through an insect monster that appeared in their path. Kyle commanded the group, ordering them to maintain a fast pace and exterminate every creature in this dense forest. The soldiers quickly cleared the area while collecting valuable materials from the monster corpses lying on the ground. Some underlings whispered mockingly, "Noah must be terrified because he's just a weak warrior." Kyle also secretly doubted why the family head would pay so much attention to someone of such a low rank. Suddenly, a warning scream caught Noah and Kyle's attention, and both looked in surprise toward the trees. They discovered a group of small children who had collapsed and were lying completely unconscious on the forest floor. Noah asked what should be done, noticing that the children seemed to be under the influence of the miasma in the area. Kyle replied that the mission was urgent, and they would take the children along to avoid wasting any more time. The warriors carried the children on their shoulders and continued moving quickly toward the heart of the dark forest. Bursts of purple energy cut through the air as the atmosphere became increasingly thick and ominous. Huge trees loomed, covered in toxic mist, severely obstructing the group's vision. Noah warned that the concentration of dark energy was rising sharply and the monster leader was definitely nearby. Suddenly, the sharp claws of a giant creature lunged down from the treetops, violently snapping branches. Everyone panicked, realizing the sudden appearance of the giant beast known as the miasma scorpion. Kyle screamed in desperation, ordering the soldiers to protect the children and take them to safety immediately. The instructor warned that the monster's shell was too hard and they needed a tactical plan before attacking. The beast's terrifying, glowing stinger rose high into the air, preparing to unleash a destructive blow at the rescue party. Noah's eyes widened and he shouted a desperate warning, telling everyone that a fatal attack was heading straight for them. The colossal attack slammed into the ground with extreme violence, scattering the soldiers amidst a cloud of dust. One soldier was horrified by the absurd speed and terrifying strength of the monster's stinger. The group felt hopeless, believing Noah would be easily defeated because he only had 2 stars of power. The giant monster began spewing toxic gas and acid at everyone nearby. Noah kept his cool and activated his hybrid aura, focusing all his energy into his blade. The hero lunged at high speed against the sharp claws of the giant scorpion without a shred of fear. He landed a precise slash, parrying the monster's pincers in a brilliant shower of sparks. Kyle was impressed by his defensive capabilities but warned that the monster's true danger lay in its lethal toxins. The scorpion fired concentrated bursts of dark green acid straight at the young master. With acrobatic midair movements, the hero skillfully dodged every corrosive shot. The beast attacked aggressively with its stinger, dripping large amounts of deadly venom onto the ground. Noah used his mental strength to prevent a direct collision from the stinger, which was diving down at high speed. The young man fixed his purple eyes on the creature and decided to go all out to end the fight quickly. He unleashed a crushing counterattack, knocking the opponent's stinger away with terrifying force. One soldier praised the young master's amazing swordsmanship, even though he knew the boy's core was supposedly weak. Tension escalated as the group watched in horror to see the monster's stinger fully regenerate. The scorpion charged relentlessly, forcing the young master to retreat to avoid its attacks. Noah slid his finger along the blade, channeling the fusion of his 2 energy flows to enhance the weapon. He gripped the hilt with both hands, preparing to unleash a focused strike on the monster. The warrior jumped onto the beast's back, intending to slash straight into the opponent's shell. As he slashed down, Noah realized the monster's natural armor was too hard to pierce. The metal blade slid off without causing any real damage, merely creating sparks on the dark shell. Noah gritted his teeth in frustration at the absurd durability of the insect armor. Kyle watched the battle, wondering curiously how the young master had acquired such perfect technique without an instructor. The young master called for Kyle, demanding immediate support, and the instructor quickly responded that he would provide cover. Noah asked his master to create an opening on the monster, and Kyle accepted the order, ensuring the action would succeed. The beast's terrifying stinger aimed for the instructor, who braced himself for the violent impact. Kyle let out a battle cry, gathering his strength to face the direct attack of the giant scorpion. With his heavy sword, the instructor blocked and temporarily restrained the opponent's fearsome stinger. Noah recognized his master's excellent contribution and ran toward the beast's body with an item in hand. The young man gained momentum and nimbly jumped onto the opponent's back, where its weak point was exposed. He landed precisely on top of the enemy's shell, maintaining perfect balance. Noah drew out the sharp, venomous spider fangs he had secretly collected earlier. He used his full physical strength to drive the acid fangs deep into the monster's armor. The fangs pierced through the hard shell, creating deep cracks that began to smoke. The scorpion roared in pain as the concentrated spider toxin began to take its destructive effect. Seizing the opportunity, the protagonist jumped off the scorpion's back. Then, the giant body of the scorpion collapsed onto the ground. Kyle asked if those were the fangs of the monsters they had dealt with on the way there. He explained that the acid from those monsters was the only way to soften the enemy's shell. Kyle finally understood the young master's strategy and why he had collected those items. The scorpion glared with multiple red eyes, preparing to react violently in its pain. The beast tried to slam its body into the ground to use a skill. Giant blue magic circles appeared in the forest sky, ready to be activated. The master prepared to unleash the third form of the shadow sword style against the enemy. He drove his powerful sword into the ground, releasing a massive amount of purple magical energy. A giant barrier rose from the ground, trapping the scorpion and preventing it from escaping. Noah smiled, realizing the trap had been set, and this was the ideal opportunity to finish the beast off. The young man jumped high, concentrating all the energy of his hybrid aura. Inspired by Julia, the hero decided to test a new variation using the power of his hybrid core. He stood in an imposing stance and began summoning a newly created holy demonic style to unleash a final blow. Letting out a resounding battle cry, the young man activated the dance of light and shadow blades to strike his terrifying opponent. Noah swooped down like a brilliant shooting star, tearing through the air with a terrifying flow of purple and gold energy. The massive impact of the technique hit the monster, splitting the weakened shell right down the middle. The giant scorpion was completely defeated, exploding into pieces and spilling corrosive green fluid across the ground. The soldiers watched everything in awe, unable to believe that a two-star warrior possessed such power. Noah thought to himself that he had tried to imitate his sister's technique, but knew he still had a lot of evolving to do. The young man said they had done well and told Kyle he would leave the responsibility of cleaning up the area to him. The instructor asked where he was going, and the young master replied that he needed to handle a private matter. The hero then left the group, heading alone toward the deepest, darkest part of the jungle. Noah remembered that in this era, humanity had yet to discover the true origin of mana outbreaks. However, he knew these phenomena were intentionally created using extremely powerful magical tools. The young man approached a giant ancient tree that was emitting a mysterious pale blue light at the base of its trunk. With a quick and precise sword stroke, he created an opening in the wood to investigate what was hidden inside. Inside the trunk, the hero found a glowing ring that was acting as a catalyst for dark energy. Noah retrieved the magical item with a satisfied smile, confirming that he had finally found the device. Suddenly, a desperate scream echoed from the area where the soldiers and children had stayed behind. Noah was extremely shocked to hear the call, realizing something terrible was happening to his allies. Without hesitation, the young man spun around and sprinted at maximum speed back to the rescue group's camp. Upon arriving, he saw that the children had collapsed on the ground, radiating dangerous green energy around their bodies. A soldier ran toward him, shouting that the forest monsters had started acting strangely. Noah entered a defensive stance and drew his weapon. Sensing a massive hostile presence quickly approaching the area, a giant horde of wild monsters appeared from all directions, completely surrounding the family's warriors. The insects charged fiercely, forcing the group to fight defensively to try and protect the injured. The young master unleashed his gold-purple combat aura, preparing to block the first wave of the attack. Kyle appeared just in time, launching a powerful blow to support Noah's vulnerable position. The instructor blocked the creature's advance. As the soldiers cheered with relief at being saved, Noah strictly ordered them to hold their ground so he would have time to clarify the situation. He focused his attention on the mysterious necklace worn around the neck of one of the unconscious children lying on the ground. Noah noticed that this item was draining the victim's magical energy, a ruthless method that had destroyed his family in the past. Kyle warned that the monster horde was too numerous and they couldn't hold out for much longer. The hero decided to use his hybrid core to interfere with the flow of the item and track down the person controlling the magic. He touched the mysterious necklace, causing his powerful mental energy to resonate with the object's magic. Noah closed his eyes and focused entirely on tracking the source of the power vibration commanding the monsters. He identified the location of a masked, red-eyed attacker, who was hiding in the shadows and rejoicing. Having found him, the young man told his allies that he would be leaving for a moment and ordered everyone to protect the children at all costs. Noah shot like lightning through the battlefield, slicing through wolves and goblins trying to block his path. He ran quickly deep into the forest, following the trail of magical energy from the controller, moving at a frightening speed. He looked like a blurred streak of light gliding through the dark landscape of the forest. Noah stopped in a clearing, and loudly demanded that the enemy hiding there reveal themselves immediately. Suddenly, the masked man jumped down from the treetops, swinging his sword in an ambush. He jumped to the side, dodging the attack. The two warriors stepped back, maintaining a defensive stance while the intruder stared at Noah with suspicion. The villain was surprised that Noah could sense his presence and admitted that he truly was the legitimate heir. Noah demanded to know who ordered the ambush, but the masked man refused to answer. The young hero wore a provocative smile and insisted that he would force his opponent to reveal everything he knew anyway. They lunged at each other, trading lightning-fast sword strikes in a high-speed collision. The attacker was amazed by Noah's overwhelming power and wondered if it stemmed from a dark core. Noah sarcastically replied that even he didn't fully understand how his power worked yet. The hero took a stance, radiating a mixed aura while the attacker tried to analyze Noah's mysterious capabilities. The aggressor channeled energy into his sword and decided to activate the second form of his shadow style. The villain used the flying blade technique, creating multiple dark energy blades around himself. He ordered the red projectiles to fire, throwing them at high speed to corner and strike the hero. Noah remained calm and deftly dodged the magical blades as they grazed his body, utilizing his nimble swordsmanship. The young man skillfully blocked the remaining strikes aimed at his chest. Noah felt the impact and decided to activate his appraisal skill to expose his opponent's true identity. He discovered the enemy was named Darius and possessed a 5-star core, but the attacker mocked him for stepping back. The hero noticed the villain's swordsmanship was weak and realized he only needed to get close to end the fight. Noah lunged forward, sprinting aggressively toward Darius while dodging every streak of dark energy. He skillfully dodged another flank attack, continuing to close the distance with the aggressor. With steady and agile footwork, the young man gained momentum on the grass, accelerating even further toward the opening for a fatal strike. Noah leaped gracefully over his opponent, easily bypassing the entire defensive line the villain had set up. Mid-air, he raised his glowing sword, preparing a direct strike at the enemy's unprotected neck. Their blades clashed powerfully, generating terrifying mental pressure between the two warriors. The attacker laughed beneath his mask, thinking the young man was foolish for using such an obvious and predictable attack. The villain whipped the air with waves of dark power, attempting to keep Noah at a distance with magical tentacles. Noah focused and dropped into a special stance to activate the first technique of the Holy Demon style. He gathered his mixed power, preparing a surprise attack with speed that far exceeded the norm. The warrior unleashed Light Shadow Shift, lunging forward like an untraceable purple blur. Darius panicked, recognizing the legendary technique, and tried to defend against the sudden lunge, but it was too late. He turned in terror, trying to raise his metal sword, but realized the young man's speed was absurd, as he had already appeared right behind his opponent. Noah whispered, "You're too slow," and delivered a heavy strike to his back. The villain groaned in pain and staggered from the serious wound he had just sustained to his chest. He dropped his sword onto the grass and collapsed to his knees, completely defeated and severely wounded after the failure. Darius furiously asked how a weak, outcast member of the Daskor house could know such a legendary technique. Noah reflected that his hybrid core allowed him to perfectly replicate the secret techniques of both clans. He knew that mere imitation was not enough, and the true potential of this mixed power would only come with time. The young man understood that once he fully mastered this hybrid power, he would become the strongest warrior in the world. Noah pointed his blade at the villain's neck and demanded to know who ordered the entire ambush. Darius replied with hatred, telling the young man not to be so quick to declare victory because the battle was not over. Without hesitation, the attacker pulled out a mysterious vial and quickly drank the strange green liquid of power. Noah watched the scene suspiciously, noticing that the aggressor's spiritual energy was beginning to change. Darius's body began to swell monstrously, cracking the ground while he screamed in pain. The young man jumped back, shocked by the violent mutation which altered the enemy's physical form. The attacker's face twisted, taking on a monstrous appearance with sharp teeth and a ruthless gaze. Darius transformed into a giant demon, roaring with rage and releasing a crushing wave of dark power. Noah watched the transformation process in horror, realizing his opponent had sacrificed his humanity in exchange for power. The terrifying monster lunged like lightning, unleashing a destructive punch that made the forest floor shake violently. The young master was forced to use all his mixed power to raise his sword and block the beast's lunging strike. The collision created a massive shockwave that sent debris flying and destroyed a portion of the surrounding vegetation. Noah anxiously realized his weapon would not hold up if he continued to block the beast's attacks. The monster Darius laughed loudly and challenged the young man to prove how much longer he could endure the fatal blows. He attacked from above, using claws and crushing punches, trying to tear the young master apart at all costs. A deadly red light emanated from the mutated monster's eyes, signaling it was about to use even more power. The giant claws tore through the air with destructive red rays, trying to corner and destroy the young man. Noah dodged the destructive strike by a hair's breadth, feeling the terrifying wind generated by the enemy's attack. The giant demon Darius lunged with both fists raised high, preparing to crush the young man. Noah leaped high into the air, escaping the monster's hand, colliding with the ground by a hair's breadth. Midair and upside down, the hero focused on his power limits. Preparing to counterattack, he performed a perfect somersault and landed in a defensive stance. Keeping his sword ready to block the next advance, Noah realized he couldn't just dodge forever and decided to use a magical item to create an opening. With determination, the young master gripped his hilt tightly, preparing to activate his trump card. Darius laughed loudly, mocking the hero's supposed weakness and lunging down from above to crush him completely. The monster loudly claimed it would end the battle at this very moment, as it aggressively lunged straight at the young man. The giant monster's hand descended at high speed, about to crush Noah's body. In the final fraction of a second, the absolute repulsion ring the hero had found began to glow brilliantly. A powerful pink hexagonal shield appeared, blocking the mutated monster's giant punch head-on. The magical barrier generated a terrifying repulsion shockwave, sending the giant demon Darius flying back up into the air. Noah gave a confident smile as he realized the opening, aware that with his hybrid core, he could reuse his old techniques. The young man leaped toward the monster, floating vulnerably in midair, channeling all his spiritual energy. He focused his target on his undefended opponent in the sky, preparing to unleash his most powerful destructive ability. Noah began to summon the powerful holy demon style, concentrating a massive amount of power into his sword. He raised his weapon, creating a colossal gold-purple pillar of energy that tore through the sky of the gloomy forest. The young man activated the single-blade dual polarity technique, unleashing a massive vertical slash. The brilliant ray of light struck the monster directly, cleaving its body in two and creating a terrifying explosion on the battlefield. Noah landed on the ground smoothly and sighed with relief, having been saved at the last second thanks to the activation of the magical ring. He analyzed the absolute repulsion ring, realizing the relic had the capability to neutralize any attack and push the attacker back. The young hero decided it was time to head back and check the situation with Kyle and the other guards. Meanwhile, the Dazquil soldiers continued to fight bravely against the horde of giant wild monsters. Kyle gritted his teeth, pouring out his extreme physical strength, and silently lamented that he was approaching his limit. A giant goblin took advantage of the exhausted trainer, raising its spiked mace to prepare a finishing blow. The warrior was desperate, believing he would be hit directly by the out-of-control beast's fatal strike. However, beyond Kyle's expectations, the monster's mace suddenly stopped in midair the very moment before it touched him. The man opened his eyes in confusion, not understanding why all the creatures in the forest suddenly stopped attacking. The soldiers looked at each other, relieved and surprised to realize they had miraculously survived that terrifying battle. Noah approached, walking calmly through the gap, and directly asked everyone if they were all right after the skirmish. Kyle confirmed, still trembling, that everyone had narrowly escaped that violent fight. The young man explained that he had defeated the beast controller, leaving the trainer shocked to learn there was a summoner. Noah confirmed the enemy was real but said he still needed to find out who hired the mercenary for the ambush. The soldiers observed the children who were still unconscious on the ground but were now out of danger from the miasma mist. The young master became pensive, knowing he needed to act quickly to expose the true culprit behind everything. Returning to the magnificent main mansion of the Dazquil family, the hero decided he would begin his own secret investigation. Noah was furious at the thought that innocent children had nearly died because of him, and vowed to catch the mastermind behind the attack. He remembered that young Eve Dazquil was serving as the family's main informant, and that she might know something important. The young man focused his steady gaze, knowing he needed to find a solid lead before making his next move. As he attempted to enter the restricted wing of the palace, Noah was suddenly ordered to stop by a resolute voice. His blonde older brother, C's Dazquil, appeared to block his path and sternly warned that he had no right to go in there. The two brothers looked at each other in the outer courtyard, creating an atmosphere of extreme tension between the family's heirs. He recalled the information that the maid Lydia had revealed, confirming that Eve knew the identity of the mastermind. The hero released a powerful, serious combat magical aura and ordered his blonde brother to get out of the way. Kreese replied that he was Eve's bodyguard and could not allow someone exuding such dangerous hostile intent to pass. The blonde young man roared in anger, clearly stating that he did not trust Noah and would stop him at any cost. Noah regretted the situation, gripped his sword hilt, and prepared to use force against his own brother. The hero drew his metal sword and firmly declared that he would use his power to force his way through if necessary. Kreese drew his sword as well, accepting the challenge and grumbling unpleasantly because he had no other choice. Kreese lunged like lightning, unleashing a nimble sword attack toward the hero in the outer courtyard area. Their blades clashed violently, creating an explosion of sparks between them. Noah withstood the terrifying physical pressure of the strike, keeping his sharp gaze focused on his opponent's movements. With a quick movement, the hero pushed Kreese back, forcing him to retreat a few steps into the middle of the courtyard. The two warriors temporarily maintained their distance and looked at each other, preparing for the next exchange of blows. Kreese channeled red magical mist in his left hand, accumulating earth and stone elemental power. He slammed it into the ground, summoning the stone spear technique, creating massive, sharp stone spikes rising from the ground. Noah was startled by the speed at which the thick, sharp stone blocks rushed toward him. Noah used his metal sword to block and push back his opponent's stone projectiles. He destroyed the stone stakes with quick slashes, demonstrating excellent defensive capability. Kreese activated the crushing stone fang magic, creating a giant, heavy stone weapon in his hand. Noah was surprised by the size of the stone sword that his opponent swung so easily. Kreese turned extremely quickly, swinging the giant stone weapon toward the hero with a destructive attack. The young master defended himself, raising his holy sword to block the terrifying impact of the stone sword. They began a frantic series of consecutive attacks, making the whole courtyard shake due to the power of the strikes. The blonde young man kept a cold gaze, demonstrating absolute focus on his complex combat strategy. Kreese executed spins and fast slashes, forcing Noah to continuously retreat to avoid being hit directly. Noah realized his opponent had a complex attack pattern, and decided to use his appraisal skill to analyze him. The data window showed that Kreese Daskell possessed formidable attributes at the 8-star rank. The young man noticed his own core was weaker, but his opponent compensated by combining magic with swordsmanship. Noah decided to confront him head-on and activated the Holy Demon style to use his full mystical power. He gathered his strength and began the light and shadow sword dance, radiating a brilliant gold-purple light. A massive explosion of mixed energy spread through the courtyard, pushing Kreese back with extreme force. The opponent was shocked to feel the terrifying power radiating directly from the young man's demon core. Kreese slid backward due to the wind generated by the clash of the magical technique. Demonstrating surprise at the power, he quickly regained his composure and prepared the dark lightning style to unleash his fastest attack. The blonde young man lunged with the instantaneous movement of black lightning, creating dark sparks around his blade. Noah recognized this style, remembering its usefulness in battle thanks to what he had learned from training. He remembered that his trainer, Kyle, had taught him the key features of the family technique. The hero prepared himself, knowing the opponent's attack focused on extreme speed. While Kreese realized he knew the theory, the blonde young man smiled slightly and warned that knowing the theory is very different from facing the actual strike on the battlefield. Without hesitation, Noah challenged his opponent to attack him with his full speed. Kreese swung his sword, firing a chain of red-black lightning. The entire courtyard was covered by a storm of electrical slashes, completely obscuring Noah's vision. Noah poured in great physical effort, trying to keep up with his opponent's lightning-fast movements. Yelling loudly, the hero tried to use maximum power to dodge and defend against the slashes. A massive electrical energy collision exploded in the center of the courtyard, illuminating everything in the vicinity. A screen of light and thick dust covered the two warriors, ending the frantic series of attacks. A strong gust of wind blew away the dust that had accumulated in the courtyard, revealing the damage caused by the intense battle. Noah appeared amidst the smoke, trying to maintain a defensive stance after taking the full pressure of the attack. His clothes were shredded and damaged due to the power and precision of the lightning strike. He groaned in pain, feeling severe physical exhaustion caused by the enemy's technique. Noah was astonished to realize that even the light and shadow sword dance could not completely block the attack. The young man concluded that techniques copied from other warriors had a clear limit on the power they could exert. He understood that he urgently needed to develop original techniques of his own using his hybrid core. Suddenly, a resolute voice ordered the battle to stop immediately, cutting off the confrontation in the courtyard. Young Eve Daskell appeared at her doorway, observing the two warriors with a serious and calm gaze. She decided to invite them into her luxurious living room to understand the true motives behind the entire confrontation. After they were settled on the sofa, the girl directly asked the reason why the two of them were fighting. Kreese explained that he acted to protect her because Noah had arrived with clear and powerful hostile intent. Noah curiously asked why someone as important as her in the Daskell family needed a bodyguard. Eve calmly replied that she was not good at physical combat and preferred to stay away from fights. Kreese asked the reason for Noah's visit and reminded him that her genius brother was not participating in the struggle for the throne. The girl quickly guessed that her younger brother wanted to find out who was behind sending the assassin to attack him. The young man was quite surprised and asked how she had guessed it so quickly. Eve gave a mysterious smile and said that there were very few things in this world she didn't know. She said she really wanted to help her dear younger brother but insisted that this information came at a high price. Noah quickly realized this was a bargain and directly asked what she wanted in exchange. The girl asked if he knew the legendary Endless Library, which made the young master curious. That place was a massive labyrinth of unknown scale, containing secrets that had never been revealed. Many adventurers had established a city nearby, but exploring the deep levels was extremely dangerous. Eve requested that Noah bring her a specific relic from there, called the Abyssal Book. Noah recalled that this book had revolutionized the magical theory he knew in his previous life. He remembered that the knowledge had saved countless lives in the terrifying war against the invaders. The hero thought that obtaining this relic sooner than expected could be the key to changing his tragic future. Noah accepted the offer without hesitation and assured her he would bring the mysterious book back for his sister. The two heirs sealed the deal with a firm handshake, officially establishing a cooperative relationship from this moment on. A moment later, a luxurious carriage raced toward the mission's destination. Noah was accompanied by two maids, who looked quite excited about the long journey. They finally arrived at Grandio Arcanum, the city housing the magnificent library tower. The young man stepped out of the carriage and began strolling through the bustling cobblestone streets of this new place. Noah knew the interior was such a complex maze that he would need an experienced guide to avoid getting lost. He observed the crowd around him, focusing on finding someone knowledgeable about the place, and as the young master walked through the narrow alleys, he attracted the attention of some suspicious locals. The city's majestic and ancient architecture stood out, highlighting the immense historical significance of the area. Meanwhile, at the main mansion, Eve was leisurely relaxing on the sofa while sipping tea. The family butler opened the door, announcing the arrival of a new, important guest for the young lady. Another heir of the family entered the room with a slow gait, maintaining an extremely confident and strategic posture. The newcomer wore a smile on his face, revealing that he had come to ask some questions about Noah. Eve observed her brother with a calm, expressionless gaze, waiting to see what his next move would be. They sat comfortably on the sofa in the living room, beginning a silent dialogue filled with family tension. The young lady commented with disdain that it was extremely rare for her to receive a visit from him in her private quarters. Skull admitted he had come with the intention of asking for a favor and borrowing his sister's knowledge. He noticed the absence of guards, and she revealed that Kreese had gone to carry out an urgent mission assigned by the family head. Skull broke into a sinister smile as he realized his sister was completely unprotected at that moment. Not the least bit worried, Eve took a sip of tea and asserted that her other guards could handle things just fine. The man praised her calmness and directly asked what she knew about Noah's recent actions. He said he wanted to explore the source of the power Noah had displayed when he went toe-to-toe with Julia. Skull confessed he was obsessed with uncovering the secret behind his younger brother's sudden evolution of strength. The villain added that Noah had even defeated those who attacked him, leaving the young lady surprised by that piece of information. The elegant young woman set her teacup aside, maintaining a neutral stance in the face of his provocations. Eve firmly declared that she would not reveal anything that could directly interfere with the succession struggle. She knew that if she favored one of her brothers, the other candidates would immediately find a way to eliminate her. Skull changed his demeanor and threatened to ask if she really intended to refuse to cooperate with him. The young lady retorted by asking if he had anything of enough value to compensate for the risk of losing her position. He offered a dark smile and repeated the word compensation as if he were plotting something terrible. He warned that she would understand that price very soon, just as a sinister figure appeared right behind her while the plot unfolded in the mansion. A bright, sunny day shone down on the bustling city of Arcanum. Noah continued walking with absolute focus through the large local market, ignoring the curious stares of the residents. The young man headed straight for his goal, determined to find the answers necessary for his journey. Noah pushed open the wooden door of an antique shop, the tinkling of a small bell announcing his presence. The young man observed the interior with a sense of nostalgia, remembering that he had finally returned to this special place in his new life. The magic shop owner, Asura, appeared and warned the young man that the shop was currently closed. Noah revealed he wasn't there to buy anything, but to hire him as his official guide to explore the infinite library. The merchant refused, saying he no longer worked as a guide, but the young man insisted because he was the most knowledgeable person there. Asura reacted with extreme annoyance, telling the young master not to make him laugh with such absurd boasts. Noah found this reaction very strange because he knew that this man had once loved that mysterious labyrinth of knowledge dearly. The young man directly asked if there was some hidden reason why he had given up his job as a local guide. Asura slammed the table in anger, roaring that this wasn't an issue the young man could solve or help with. The merchant took a deep breath, appearing to carry a massive emotional burden of pain and resentment in his heart. "I apologize for my rude attitude earlier. I've been very stressed and impatient lately," Asura confided. Suddenly, the small doorbell rang again, signaling the unexpected appearance of someone else in the shop. Noah was shocked to see that the newcomer was none other than his sister Julia, who asked if he was doing well. The beautiful silver-haired woman waved with a faint smile on her lips as she stepped into the shop. She explained that she had seen him on a mission and decided to follow him, though Noah realized he had truly been trapped. The merchant panicked upon recognizing young Master Julia, one of the most famous swordsmen in the kingdom. He grabbed Noah's shoulder, calling him Kid, and the young man quickly corrected him, stating his real name. The man instantly changed his attitude and accepted the job on the condition that Julia also joined the expedition. Noah was suspicious of the sudden change and realized he truly had personal reasons for taking this mission. The merchant told them to follow him and headed toward the deepest part of the shop. They entered a dark room where a purple-haired woman was lying on a bed, resting. Asura approached his beloved wife with a vacant look and began to recount the horrific event that had occurred a month ago. He revealed that she had been cursed after being attacked by a giant red-armored monster in the labyrinth. The man explained that the monster's curse caused the victim to fall into a deep sleep until they drew their final breath. Noah deduced that the best solution was to defeat the monster, but the guide lamented that all adventurers had failed. Asura knelt, begging Julia to use her extraordinary power to go down into the labyrinth and save his wife. Julia agreed to help on the condition that Noah also actively participate in the fight against the terrifying monster. She placed her hand on her younger brother's shoulder, explaining that she wanted to see his fighting style in the labyrinth with her own eyes. The young man instantly realized his sister was still suspicious of the true origin of his new combat ability. With no way out, Noah accepted the condition and told the merchant that they were ready to begin the mystical rescue mission. The man rejoiced, looking very confident and determined, and vowed to do his best to lead them safely. The trio gathered before the giant library tower while Julia ensured that her other mission was under control. She focused her gaze on Noah and sincerely admitted that she was extremely curious to uncover her brother's secret. She recalled their clash, sensing that her brother had used a type of energy different from the family's usual demonic core. The young woman warned that he would have to reveal the truth in the labyrinth, and Noah noted her keenness in noticing the difference in power. The merchant appeared with a giant backpack of supplies and apologized for being late. Noah took the lead and told everyone to depart immediately toward the main gate of the magnificent structure. The group entered the main hall, which was packed with adventurers and warriors from everywhere. The guide registered the team at the reception desk and warned that the three of them would have to rely on each other heavily inside. Local warriors whispered with pity as they looked at the trio and Asura, believing they would be the next victims of this place. The man led them to a giant blue stone gate, declaring that this was the true entrance to the infinite library. He pushed the stone structure with significant physical effort to begin the dangerous expedition. The gate opened, revealing a powerful and mysterious flow of blue energy radiating from inside the labyrinth. The trio stepped through the mystical passage under the guidance of their guide, who remained vigilant for any signs of danger. The young man observed the vastness of the place with its colossal bookshelves, confirming the truly immense scale of the location. Julia smiled in amazement, commenting that she now fully understood why it was necessary to rely on such an experienced guide. The majestic architecture filled with floating staircases and complex passages seemed to form an endless maze. Noah walked calmly, but suddenly his eyes widened as he saw something truly shocking on the tower wall. He stumbled upon an ancient painting depicting the hero of light facing a horrific invasion of red monsters. The young man was amazed, concluding that there were secrets hidden in this labyrinth that were directly linked to the future of the world. Noah analyzed the mural, focusing on finding any hidden clues that could help him defeat the invaders in the future. Julia wore a confident smile and warned that it was time for them to continue moving deep into the maze. The young man confirmed the objective, reminding everyone that their current priority was to retrieve the legendary Book of the Infinite Deep. Upon reaching the first floor, the guide explained that the rarest and most forbidden books were hidden on the deepest floors. Asura revealed that this relic was banned in the neighboring kingdom and deduced that it must be kept around the 20th floor. Noah mused, remembering that this was the deepest floor any adventurer had ever set foot on. The group moved in an organized fashion and proceeded to a large blue magic circle drawn in the center of the stone floor. They stood upon the mystical magic to prepare for their descent to the library's lower floors. Suddenly, dozens of armored and shielded orcs appeared from thin air, blocking the adventurer's path. The guide explained that these beasts always guarded the entrance to the next floor and asked if the young master could eliminate them. Noah calmly assured him that he would handle this basic threat as he drew his glowing sword from its sheath. The young man lunged with terrifying flexibility, unleashing high-speed golden slashes that tore the local monsters to pieces. He sheathed his sword with a quick, stylish motion, displaying frightening skill before the guide's eyes. The corpses of the defeated opponents fell to the floor of the mystical library, confirming the young warrior's swift victory. Impressed by the ease of it all, Asura urged the young nobles that they needed to move quickly toward their goal. The group reached the 10th floor and the guide demanded absolute secrecy regarding the hidden shortcuts. From then on in the expedition, he manipulated a specific book on the shelf to activate the library's secret passage mechanism. A large secret passage opened, revealing a hidden path that very few knew how to use. The guide pointed to the hidden magic circle, explaining that this mystical tool was a wonderful shortcut. They gathered on the mystical magic, which began to glow brilliantly with powerful, rhythmic blue energy. The magical teleportation activated and the group was enveloped by a giant pillar of light, completing the instant journey. The powerful magical light vanished suddenly, revealing their appearance in a new, quiet area of the tower. Noah covered his face with his hands due to the intense glare generated by the teleportation process to the new floor. The guide revealed that they had skipped many floors and were now at the transit point from the 19th to the 20th floor. Julia stepped forward with an arrogant smile, deducing that the next elite monsters were surely right ahead. They arrived at a giant circular stone pit, where a massive blue magic was glowing menacingly. A massive wave of dark energy surged from the magic circle, signaling the immediate summoning of the area's boss. Dozens of dark, violent branches and roots sprouted from the ground, spreading an atmosphere of terror throughout the environment. A giant tree monster with many red eyes appeared, revealing itself as the terrifying leader of this floor. The guide panicked upon noticing that this creature had evolved into an elder lord, far more powerful than what he remembered. Asura screamed in terror, saying that overcoming this beast would require many elite groups, but Julia brushed off his concerns. The young swordswoman laughed sarcastically, asking why the man thought she needed any help. She drew her sword with an arrogant posture and assured him that her personal power was more than enough. Julia lunged at high speed toward the giant tree monster, unleashing an extremely fast direct attack. The giant monster retaliated by whipping long, sharp dark branches to crush the intruder in one go. The warrior executed brilliant acrobatic dodging moves, slicing through every branch trying to block her advance. She ran along the opponent's own roots, quickly closing the distance to attempt a strike at the main tree trunk. Julia unleashed a precise sword stroke right at the center of the monster, creating a massive explosion of dark energy. The strike produced sparks, but it only barely scratched the opponent's hard shell while its red eyes flared with fury. The young woman landed skillfully and admitted that this mystical creature's natural armor was indeed very durable. Asura roared in desperation, warning that the wood was as hard as steel and a lone swordsman would never be able to defeat it. Suddenly, dozens of wooden tentacles sprouted from the ground, completely surrounding and binding the female warrior's legs. Julia was completely restrained by the monster's vines, which began to tighten around her body with extremely violent force. The elder monster tightened its wooden claws, preparing to crush its captured opponent in one go. Worried by the dangerous situation, Noah prepared to intervene and ran toward the fight to save his sister. The branches tightened with maximum force, generating red sparks as they attempted to break Julia's physical resistance. The warrior remained calm and activated the 5th form of her shadow fighting style, unleashing red flames. An explosion of fire incinerated the vines, and she emerged in the mystical and imposing armor of dark flames. Noah was completely amazed to witness this powerful and rare elemental defensive technique operating right before his eyes. Julia swung her sword, drenched in dark fire, and prepared to counterattack using the 1st form of her style. The warrior activated the Dance of Dark Fire Blades technique, channeling all her fire energy into her weapon. The giant tree leader tried to react, swinging its massive branches to crush Julia with extreme brutality. Enveloped in pure fiery rage, the silver-haired woman leaped with determination toward her opponent's trunk. With fast and explosive slashes, Julia sliced through the wooden tentacles, turning the leader's defense into ashes. She gained momentum in the air and lunged forward, aiming straight at the opponent's multiple glowing eyes. The warrior let out a resounding battle cry as she unleashed a downward strike filled with all her mystical energy. A massive torrent of red flame and darkness was unleashed, tearing through the air and destroying everything in its path throughout the Great Hall. The powerful attack sliced the trunk of the central Elder Guardian in two, triggering a violent explosion of steam and smoke. Julia landed with flair and arrogance, declaring that her flame sword would never be blocked by something as mundane as steel. The guide pointed desperately, shouting a warning of danger as he realized the lethal confrontation had not completely ended. A stealthy tentacle quickly sprouted from the ground and wrapped tightly around Julia's ankle, catching the warrior off guard. Dozens of dark roots emerged from the earth and began to completely envelop her body. Julia realized that the plant monster regenerated very quickly unless it was burned completely in one go. She was dragged by the roots and finally imprisoned entirely inside a dark cocoon made of vines in the center of the hall. Noah clicked his tongue in anxiety as he heard his sister summon the third form of her special technique. Inside the wooden cocoon, the young man sensed a looming catastrophe and gripped the guide's hand to pull him out of the danger zone. He ran at maximum speed, desperately pulling Asura and shouting for him to run quickly before the explosion occurred. Inside the wooden cocoon, Julia's eyes flashed a brilliant red, signaling the release of her trump card. A massive fire explosion occurred, destroying the cocoon and spreading a terrifying heatwave across the area. Thick red smoke blanketed the Great Hall while Noah and Asura ran at full speed to escape the impact of the attack. The fire shockwave swept through the entire corridor, knocking the two adventurers onto the floor of the mysterious labyrinth. Noah stood up, coughing, and deduced that his sister's intention was indeed to burn everything to prevent the monster from recovering. Amidst the ashes and red mist, Julia appeared, standing triumphantly after completely erasing the leader's existence. She calmly walked toward her companions and asked if they should continue looking for the book. The guide witnessed the scene in complete disbelief and heavy shock, unable to imagine she had annihilated that beast all by herself. Noah pondered, remembering that the dark flame style was the strongest in terms of raw offensive power. He recalled that this technique consumed energy extremely quickly, but admitted its power was the greatest in the world. The trio finally reached the 20th floor, stepping into a new great hall filled with massive bookshelves containing ancient books. Noah focused his attention on the wooden bookcases and suddenly widened his eyes when he discovered a very familiar work. The young man picked up the book with excitement and cheered because he had finally found the abyssal book. With their goal completed, Julia warned that they now needed to find the mysterious monster that had cursed the guide's wife. Noah asked about its location, and Asura explained that this specific opponent usually hunted freely on this floor. A metallic sound rang out suddenly in the silence of the hallway, causing the three adventurers to instantly become hypervigilant. A book fell onto a small tea table, revealing a drawing of a powerful warrior on the page. The young man picked up the mysterious book with suspicion, trying to understand the real secret behind the picture. Suddenly, a voice whispered threateningly that it had found him. The pages of the mysterious book began to flip rapidly, creating a mystical atmosphere in the dark hallway. Noah sensed an overwhelming hostile presence flare up behind him and reacted with extreme speed to dodge the attack. He and Julia drew their swords and entered a hybrid defensive stance, standing right in front of the terrified merchant. A terrifying armored warrior in gray armor with monster limbs emerged from the shadows, revealing itself to be the grand boss of this area. Asura pointed furiously, identifying the opponent as the very demon that had caused the terrible suffering for his wife. Noah stepped forward, brandishing his sword, determined to begin the fight to eradicate the labyrinth's evil monster once and for all. Julia sternly ordered her younger brother to fall back, and warned that she would handle the dangerous armored boss herself. She leaped, propelled by her own dark flames, shouting that she would take responsibility for leading the attack. The armored warrior raised its monster limb, preparing to launch an overwhelming counterattack aimed at Julia. Both weapons clashed violently, creating waves of red flame that illuminated the bookshelves in the Great Hall. Julia poured out terrifying physical effort to try to contain the head-on collision, but still felt the opponent's absurd power. A massive shockwave sent the adventurers stumbling back, demonstrating the terrifying destructive power of this elite enemy. The female warrior landed, sliding along the floor and knocking over many bookshelves. Impressed by her opponent's absurd physical strength, she knelt down with difficulty, coughing from the heavy impact, and anxiously concluded that a prolonged battle here would be extremely brutal for them. Julia dodged the danger, leaping at high speed through the great hall's massive bookshelves. The female warrior ran acrobatically along the wall, accumulating red flames on her metal sword. She lunged down from above at the gray-armored opponent, unleashing an extremely powerful vertical slash. The head-on collision created a massive explosion of red energy, causing the entire structure of the mysterious library to shake. Dust flew everywhere due to the pressure while Noah and the guide witnessed the epic battle unfolding in the hall. The young man was astonished to realize that the terrifying armored warrior had easily blocked such a fast technique. Julia spun in midair, regaining her combat stance while the enemy aggressively advanced without tiring. The girl landed on the floor, realizing the enemy's power far exceeded any ordinary monster, and slammed her hand on the ground, activating an orange magic circle to summon the second form of her dark combat style. A massive and destructive red fire vortex appeared beneath the monster's feet, attempting to burn it to a crisp on the spot. The guide believed the fight had ended with this blow, but Noah remained tense, realizing the threat was still active. To everyone's astonishment, the armored warrior sliced the fire vortex in two with just its dark blade. Using only the power of its dark blade, Julia was knocked backward by the enemy's overwhelming counterattack, causing the entire fire vortex to vanish. Taking advantage of the rebound, the girl leaped straight onto the top of the enemy's armor, screaming that she had caught him. She stabbed her burning weapon deep into the opponent's head, seeking to end the battle right there. However, she winced in pain when she realized the slash was not enough to pierce the enemy's mysterious armor. The monster reacted brutally, unleashing a heavy punch that sent the female warrior flying into a stone shelf. Julia quickly regained her stance and cursed under her breath, "Damn it." Noah anxiously realized that even the legendary destructive power of his dark flames had no effect on the opponent. The young man panicked when he saw his sister's attack did not even leave a scratch on the enemy's armor. The monster's mouth began to glow a brilliant green, accumulating a terrifying amount of magic power. Julia stared in horror at her arm, which had been invaded by a painful and horrific green energy stream. The armored warrior fired a colossal green destructive energy beam straight at the opponent. In the final fraction of a second, Noah leaped forward and embraced his sister, saving her from the horrific beam that destroyed the entire scenery. The energy beam caused an absurd explosion, creating a deep groove in the stone floor. The young man stood up and assured her he would support the battle, but his sister warned him to be careful of the enemy's touch. Julia explained that any physical contact with that creature would cause a terrible, painful curse on the body. She lamented that due to her injured arm, she would not be able to gather the strength necessary to subdue the monster. Noah looked at her seriously and made an unusual request, leaving the female warrior confused by her brother's attitude. The armored warrior began accumulating mysterious green energy in its mouth, preparing another lethal strike aimed at them. Noah asked his sister to use her strongest attack one more time, and Julia thought this suggestion was too cruel since she had nearly died from that move. Julia accepted the plan, and Noah assured her he would focus on severing the enemy's cursed arm to create an ideal opening. The two heirs lunged forward in parallel, coordinating their movements, combining red flames with powerful electric sparks. Julia executed her fire dance while the young man activated a hybrid version of the holy demon style. They simultaneously struck the enemy with a terrifying sequence of slashes made of yellow light and dark flames throughout the hall. The collision between the opposing forces created a massive multicolored explosion that lit up the entire 20th floor of the library. A massive pillar of fire and electricity swallowed the central combat area, spreading destruction across the bookshelves. The two siblings retreated, sliding smoothly on the floor, maintaining a defensive stance while observing through the smoke. They stood side by side, vigilant and anxiously waiting to see if the combined technique had been effective. However, the terrifying armored warrior roared violently, emerging from the flames completely unharmed and furious to continue the fight. Both were shocked by the monster's absurd resistance, as it lunged forward to unleash a new attack. The enemy unleashed a vertical slash, but the two siblings used their weapons to block the blow with extreme precision. Julia leaped acrobatically, trying to find a weak point in the opponent's armor. In a frantic exchange, the enemy defended skillfully, pushing back the attacks with a large shield and forcing the two siblings to retreat into the hall. Noah blocked a heavy blow, feeling the full physical pressure and pouring in all his strength to avoid being crushed. Realizing her younger brother was about to be crushed by the enemy, Julia shouted desperately for him to dodge. The girl channeled her final strength and activated the second form of the dark flame style to protect her teammate. A large yellow flame spear aimed straight at the enemy, reducing the impact of the monster's destructive attack. The gray-armored boss remained unperturbed and continued accumulating green magic in its mouth, preparing another deadly strike. Julia shouted Noah's name in desperation when she realized the enemy's lethal beam was aimed straight at the young man. Noah prepared the holy demon style, concentrating a massive amount of energy into his sword. With absolute focus, the young master activated the dual polarity blade technique, releasing his full offensive potential. A massive collision of light struck the gray-armored monster, creating a giant explosion in the stone hall. Noah gasped and was exhausted, feeling the horrific physical burden that the blow caused on his new body. The young man had struck the opponent directly in the head, causing the mystical energy to pierce through the enemy's helmet. The monster resisted and countered with extreme violence, forcing the young hero to try to defend at any cost. Noah realized the danger of the situation and gritted his teeth as he saw himself about to be completely overwhelmed. Suddenly, a giant red fire vortex appeared in the gap, attempting to restrain the enemy's advance. Julia warned that she had used the last of her energy to save her brother's life and pay back her debt to him. The young man anxiously realized that even his strongest blow had failed and his sister's core was completely drained. Facing the enemy's terrifying resistance, Noah wondered if the only viable option left was to retreat from the battle. The giant gray-armored monster continued to advance majestically toward the two siblings, who were barely able to fight. Noah looked into the distance, panicked, and considered whether they truly had to face yet another monster in this place. Suddenly, a mysterious voice spoke up, criticizing the lack of finesse and technical flaws in his hybrid blow. The young man went completely silent, trying to identify the true source of that strange and powerful spiritual aura. A brilliant golden light began to appear in the air. As the voice explained that Noah's energy was chaotic and unbalanced, the young master drew his sword and demanded to know who was speaking and what mystical place he had just entered. The voice revealed that he was the successor of the Holy Divine Core, and advised the hero to end the dangerous fight with a single blow. Meanwhile, in the real world, the terrifying monster raised its giant dark sword, preparing to unleash a finishing blow aimed at Noah. Seeing her brother standing perfectly still and unresponsive, Julia shouted in desperation, asking him what he was planning to do at this moment. Suddenly, a blue system window appeared, confirming the awakening of the successor and unlocking the hero's holy divine core. Noah gripped his sword hilt while channeling the second style of his new, powerful holy divine light technique. A massive pillar of golden energy covered the young man's body, completely illuminating the dark scenery of the labyrinth. His eyes flashed brilliantly as the hero activated a technique capable of tearing the sky with his new light energy. A terrifying sequence of golden slashes cut through the air at extreme speed, creating a spectacle of power in the hall. The brilliant light attacks struck the gray-armored monster's armor, causing it to begin cracking under the divine power. He smiled, realizing this was the true and hidden power of the Holy Demon Core. Noah stood in a majestic stance and warned the enemy that he now intended to pay back double all the pain they had suffered. The hero leaped toward the monster, accumulating pure golden electrical blades around his metal sword. A new system window activated, indicating that the boss challenge had been officially accepted by the young warrior. Noah was suddenly transported to a vast white space where his golden fire sword was glowing brilliantly. A sound echoed and deduced that he had indeed inherited the entire legendary primordial holy divine core. A giant golden figure began to appear before him, radiating the pure aura of divinity and ultimate power. A majestic, handsome knight with long golden hair and golden armor appeared before the astonished young master. The hero asked who he was, and the entity introduced himself as Zex Valmuth, the the bearer of the primordial holy divine core. The knight explained that the holy core and demon core that Noah had just learned about were actually just flawed byproducts. He recounted that in the age of the gods, invaders from another world appeared, and the holy divine core was created to fight them. Zex lamented that after a long war, humanity had ultimately failed because of internal conflicts caused by humans themselves. He revealed that other factions feared the overwhelming power of the holy divine core and decided to destroy everyone who carried it. To prevent this power from being reborn, the primordial force was split, giving birth to the demon core and the holy core. Noah understood that the two energy streams were originally one, and Zex confirmed that was why he was able to inherit the holy divine core. The young man asked if humans could have defeated the invaders in the past if they had not betrayed each other. With a serious gaze, the ancient warrior assured him that they would have easily wiped out the entire enemy force. Noah clenched his fist with determination, thinking that with this legendary power, he could finally change the tragic fate of the world. Zex warned that with the young man's current core level, that was impossible, and he needed to defeat the enemy to evolve. The young master gave a confident and arrogant smile, showing that he was completely ready to accept the challenge. The ancient hero returned the smile and decided to begin training Noah with a relatively simple mission. Zex ordered the young master to prove his worth by first destroying the insignificant enemy before him in the real world. Returning to reality, Noah released a massive amount of golden fire that enveloped the Great Hall at high speed. The young man moved forward with determination and clashed his divine sword directly against the sharp claws of the powerful opponent. With a focused gaze, the hero assured him that this time he would sever the monster's arm once and for all. The two warriors clashed again in the center of the hall. While books flew everywhere in the wind, Noah used his golden blades of mystical energy to block and restrain the enemy's giant arm. The system revealed that the divine technique controlled 6 blades of light used for both offense and defense. Using the terrifying speed of his new ability, the young man severed the gray-armored monster's arm. Asura witnessed everything, completely shocked to realize the young master had used light itself to slice the beast. The opponent's arm fell to the stone floor while the gold-purple aura continued to radiate from the young hero's body. Without hesitation, Noah lunged forward and delivered a deep stab straight into the chest of the armored warrior. The young man gave a faint smile and sarcastically said that the tide had finally turned in their favor in this battle. A massive explosion of golden energy pierced through the opponent's armor, lighting up the entire library area. The monster roared violently in extreme pain as it felt the cleansing power burning its body. With a final vertical slash, Noah defeated the terrifying enemy and celebrated the fall of his first major foe. The body of the terrifying gray-armored warrior collapsed onto the library floor, completely destroyed and lifeless. The hero took a deep breath, observing the result of the confrontation while trying to calm the flow of mystical energy. Suddenly, a final and dangerous wave of green energy appeared at that location, immediately attracting the young master's attention. Julia realized the danger was approaching and shouted desperately for her brother to dodge the surprise attack. A colossal green energy beam shot straight at the hero, who was caught off guard on the ground. Noah reacted quickly and activated the shield of his light blade technique to try and contain the impact of the blue beam. The golden shield collided with the powerful energy stream. The collision between the two mystical forces triggered a massive explosion that destroyed the remaining bookshelves in the area. The smoke slowly cleared, revealing the damage caused by that final desperate attack. To everyone's relief, Noah stood up completely unscathed amidst the dust, demonstrating his mystical defensive power. Julia witnessed the scene in absolute shock, unable to comprehend how he had escaped the blow without a single scratch. Noah raised his glowing sword and warned that he would finish the monster once and for all with his energy. The young man unleashed his final shining attack, and the monster took the full force of that destructive energy stream. The beast's armor crumbled under the immense amount of energy from the young heir's divine technique. The impact dispelled the evil aura and the armored warrior collapsed, completely destroyed. Amidst the ashes, a system panel appeared, confirming his victory and announcing that the level of his holy core had increased to level 2. The young man read the congratulatory message from Zex and was surprised to realize the ancient hero was still continuing to guide him. him. The system warned that the holy core grows through battles and advised Noah to make good use of his new mystical power. Noah clenched his fist in contemplation, realizing that fighting was the key to evolution, and he celebrated obtaining his new technique. Still trembling, Asura ran to the young master's side, asking in disbelief if he had truly defeated the monster. Julia approached and confirmed the enemy was gone, pointing out that the horrific curse had also begun to fade from the place. The young woman looked at her arm with relief, noticing that the black marks of infection had completely vanished from her skin. Julia told the man that his wife was likely cured as well, and Asura wept with happiness, suggesting they should return immediately. Stepping toward her younger brother, Julia commented with surprise that he looked completely different from the weak warrior he was before the challenge. The young woman fixed a serious gaze on the young master and directly asked where he had learned such amazing swordsmanship. Seeing his silence, she deduced that he couldn't speak of it and explained that there were many different styles of using a core. She detailed that the magic sword style was the fundamental foundation for all warriors of the Dazkul lineage. She mentioned the dark fire style, which focused entirely on maximizing the user's physical attack power. The young woman also touched upon the dark lightning style, with its main focus on extreme speed in strikes. Julia concluded by mentioning the abyss style, a mystical technique specialized in deceiving and disorienting opponents. She pointed out that Noah's style didn't belong to any of those schools and asked what her brother was hiding from everyone. The two siblings exchanged deep, silent looks, creating an atmosphere of mystery and mutual suspicion. Julia skipped pressuring Noah, wore a faint smile, and decided to set her suspicions aside for the time being. She departed, saying she was looking forward to the day they put their demonic cores to the test in a real battle. The scene shifts to the mansion. On the way back with Kyle, the hero held the Book of the Infinite Deep, which he intended to hand over in exchange for information from Eve. Upon reaching the young information officer's room, Noah opened the door to find the place completely ransacked and destroyed. Cease appeared in a fit of rage and reported that he had made a mistake by leaving the mansion. As young Eve had been kidnapped, the blonde warrior revealed that the person responsible for the incident was their brother Skull, who was searching for secret data on Noah. Cease explained that Skull had likely kidnapped Eve to force her to reveal all the information she held. Noah smiled faintly as he realized and confirmed that the evil Skull was indeed the true mastermind behind the attackers. The young man decided they would save the informant, but the guard panicked when he realized he wanted to challenge Lord Skull. Noah wore a mysterious smile and told his ally not to compare their confrontation to a dispute between equals. With a cold look in his eyes, the hero assured him that what was about to begin would be nothing more than a one-sided and ruthless revenge. Feeling guilty, Cease said he would go along to correct his mistake, leaving the soldiers surprised by his support. The guard suggested they wait for reinforcements, but Noah countered that there was no time to gather more soldiers. Clenching his weapon, the young man declared that the sword of the Dazkul family would not break just because they were outnumbered. The soldier accepted the order, and Noah requested that he ensure absolute security for the mansion while they were away. Displaying deep loyalty, the man assured him with determination that he would protect his master's home no matter what. With the plan set, the young master took the lead and ordered an immediate attack on the base of the traitorous Skull. Noah and Cease mounted their horses and sped away at high speed, racing along the dirt road leading to the rescue site. Cease hoped Eve was still safe, but commented confidently that she was strong enough not to be easily subdued. Noah noticed his great confidence and curiously asked why the blonde brother had decided to become her bodyguard. Cease revealed that his own demonic core had always been considered the weakest among all the family's heirs. He confessed that his power was inferior to his brother's, putting him at a major disadvantage in the family power struggle. The young man explained that to compensate for this weakness, he had sought to learn new combat tactics and master swordsmanship. Noah finally understood the situation, realizing that was why he couldn't predict his brother's attacks. Cease assured him with determination that he would keep fighting to become stronger and would protect Eve at all costs. The two heirs finally arrived before the mansion gate, and Noah warned that they needed to locate Eve first. They dismounted, and the young master warned seriously that they would spare no enemy on their way. Noah accumulated powerful mystical energy around his legs, preparing to demonstrate his power with an extremely violent move. The young man unleashed a devastating kick against the mansion's giant metal gate. The heavy iron gate was completely destroyed and collapsed. The two brothers stormed into the area at high speed, sliding into the courtyard with swords drawn, ready to fight. They were immediately surrounded by a large number of masked soldiers who had been waiting for Noah's arrival. Cease quickly recognized the group of enemies and told the young man that this was Skull's elite mercenary unit. The masked warriors encircled the two brothers, and as the blonde brother warned that these mercenaries were highly skilled, their squad leader laughed at the situation, mocking the two fools for attacking head-on like that. Noah activated his purple combat aura and coldly warned that he had no time for mere underlings, ordering them to bring Skull out. The leader of the mercenaries was extremely annoyed by Noah's arrogance, telling the young man he didn't understand the situation. A mercenary suddenly appeared behind the hero, attempting to launch a sneak sword attack on Noah. Without even needing to look back, the young man spun around in the final millisecond and easily blocked the enemy's attack. Noah executed a counterattack, kicking the masked man away with extreme brutal force. The leader drew his massive white sword and swore they would show no mercy to anyone who dared to challenge Skull. The young master slid across the courtyard grass, channeling electricity around his holy sword. Noah collided head-on with the mercenary leader's sword, creating a massive explosion of sparks in the yard. While Noah confronted the commander, Cease was kept busy by the rest of the mercenaries on the battlefield. He leaped into the air to dodge an attack. He summoned the light slash of dark lightning, funneling a huge amount of electrical power into his sword. A giant beam of blue electrical energy tore through the grass, striking his opponents with destructive force. Skull's masked soldiers were electrocuted and sent flying by the unrelenting impact of Cease's powerful magic. Standing amidst the defeated enemies, the blonde young man radiated an electrical aura and challenged any other enemies to fight. Noah observed the scene from the corner of his eye and felt relieved knowing he could leave that side to Cease. The mercenary leader tried to take advantage of a moment of distraction and lunged, yelling for the hero not to underestimate them. He quickly threw a scroll high into the sky above the battlefield. The scroll began to glow brilliantly with red flames, activating a massive summoning spell in the air. The young man looked down at the ground and panicked as he noticed the appearance of a giant, terrifying red magic seal. The enemy leader revealed that it was a powerful sealing technique developed specifically to counter their family. He lunged at the young master, launching an attack filled with thick and dangerous purple demonic smoke. Noah focused to his maximum, his eyes flashing purple as he tried to read his opponent's next move. The system revealed the opponent's name to be Vault Grave, a formidable warrior who held a dangerous hidden defensive technique. Noah quickly began summoning the second form of his powerful divine fighting style. However, the young man suddenly felt a terrifying physical resistance. As he tried to channel his core power into his sword, he groaned in pain and frustration when he realized his mystical energy was being mysteriously sealed. Vault Grave took advantage of the opening and unleashed a cross slash that forced Noah to jump backward. Noah realized in horror that the opponent's secret technique had completely sealed his demonic core. The villain mocked the situation, warning the young man not to think he could defeat them with simple swordsmanship alone. Cease ran to Noah's side amidst the center of the red magic circle, ready to support his brother in the battle. The blonde young man analyzed the tactical situation and pointed out with worry that they were at a serious numerical disadvantage in this courtyard. He lamented the existence of such annoying and irritating magic that could seal their dark energy. Cease ordered Noah to go ahead and save Eve while he took responsibility for holding back the enemies on his own. The blonde young man told his brother not to worry and ordered him to quickly finish off Skull to bring the young lady back to safety. Noah accepted Cease's request with an extremely serious gaze, placing total trust in his brother's abilities. The young master dodged the attacks of the first enemies and ran at high speed toward the mansion's interior. He darted through like a blur amidst the line of masked soldiers, moving forward without looking back. Seeing this, Cease wore a confident smile and warned that even with his core sealed, he could still use powerful earth magic. He activated the Stone Path magic, spawning a giant stone spike that lunged forward, destroying the courtyard scenery. The stone column propelled the hero straight toward the mansion. Cease shouted, telling his ally to search the annex mansion as it was the most suspicious location in the area. Vaultgrave realized the move and desperately ordered his underlings to chase after Noah at all costs in the hallway. However, Cease summoned dozens of sharp stone spikes that sprouted from the ground, pinning down the enemies trying to rush through. The mercenary leader clicked his tongue in annoyance, seeing his elite unit restrained so easily. He watched with fury as his underlings were pinned to the giant stone spears that covered the entire lawn. Vaultgrave focused his icy gaze on Cease, realizing he would need to defeat the blonde young man if he wanted to continue the hunt. Cease pointed his sword toward the mercenary leader and challenged him to focus on a real battle with him immediately. Meanwhile, inside the mansion, Skull was interrogating Eve and demanding to know the secret behind Noah's new power. Bound to a wooden chair, the young woman calmly replied that his questions would remain futile and hopeless forever. Skull laughed savagely and pointed to the captured maids, asking if she really didn't care about their fate. Eve retorted with extreme contempt, saying that having a useless coward as a younger brother was an unbearable disgrace, which infuriated Skull. But he was interrupted when he heard deafening battle noises from the courtyard outside. Eve smiled, deducing that Noah had finally arrived, and Skull mocked his younger brother for daring to attack head-on like that. The villain focused his blue eyes filled with hatred, showing he didn't fear the advance of the youngest heir of the Daskell house. Eve proudly commented that such cowardly methods didn't suit Noah, because he possessed the most important thing in the world. Eve laughed sarcastically, declaring that she could finally test the young man's true combat strength with her own hands. Annoyed by the hostage's insolence, the red-haired man drew his metal sword, promising to make this arrogant woman pay. Suddenly, the door was destroyed, and Noah stormed into the room majestically. The young man entered a defensive stance and calmly declared that he had come to this dangerous den solely to save his sister. Noah raised his sword of light and shadow, staring at Skull's figure in the center of the luxurious wooden hall. With his familiar calm and sarcastic tone, Eve smiled at her brother and remarked that he was a bit late. Skull pointed his silver sword straight at Noah's chest and roared his younger brother's name with deep hatred. Noah smirked, asking if he wanted to end this. The orange-haired man laughed mockingly and challenged the young man, asking if he truly believed he was capable of defeating him in battle. Noah kept an extremely calm expression and gave a short, sarcastic reply, confirming that he was completely certain. Skull lost all control and lunged aggressively, launching an attack filled with thick purple demonic energy. The two brothers exchanged fast and precise sword strikes amidst the great hall as bookshelves and books fell scattered around them. The impact of the massive battle was so great that the glass windows shattered, throwing both heirs out into the courtyard. They continued to trade fearsome sword strikes midair while falling from the top of the palace at high speed. The two warriors landed skillfully on the courtyard grass and quickly backed away to catch their fighting breath. Noah activated his mystical appraisal skill to analyze the true potential and power level of his orange-haired brother in detail. The system revealed that Skull possessed impressive attributes and that he was the founder of the dangerous abyss fighting style. The young man calmly asked what Skull's true motive was for sending mercenaries and even using children to harm him. The orange-haired man wore a mocking smile and answered bluntly that the reason for his actions should be far too obvious. It was just that he found the protagonist an eyesore. Consumed by rage, the villain lunged, unleashing an extremely violent vertical slash covered in purple mana. The two swords collided powerfully, creating a massive explosion and pushing Skull backward. Noah felt relieved to realize that his core seal had been lifted as soon as he left the range of the mercenary leader's magic. Skull attacked frantically, roaring that he wouldn't accept that a weak piece of trash like Noah could receive the family head's recognition. The young man raised his holy sword, blocking the relentless, frenzied string of attacks from his opponent. The orange-haired man bellowed with a psychotic look, demanding his brother fall right there in this family duel. Noah dodged with a perfect acrobatic move, leaping over his opponent and avoiding Skull's lethal horizontal slash. He landed with agile steps, creating a safe distance from his enemy to plan. The young master analyzed his brother's attacks, noticing that he blended feints with real strikes to disrupt his defense. Skull warned that Noah was nothing but a stepping stone for his victory and began to channel a huge amount of purple smoke. The villain prepared and began to summon the third form of his terrifying abyss style to destroy the young man. He summoned the Night March of the Demon Legion, creating a giant army of skeleton warriors in the courtyard. The skeleton monsters lunged aggressively at Noah, but he swung his sword and shattered them all. The young man entered a stance and began to wonder if this skeleton army was just a decoy from his opponent. A skeleton leaped, launching an overhead slash with an old sword toward the young master's head. The hero immediately recognized the attack. He raised his weapon and blocked the skeleton monster's metal swords. Noah curiously noticed that these creatures weren't mere illusions, but magical summons with actual physical mass. Seeing more monsters rushing toward him, the hero decided he needed to clear the battlefield quickly. Noah executed a spectacular leap, dodging the encirclement on the ground, and channeled light energy into his powerful sword. Mid-air, the young man began to summon the second style of the divine technique, concentrating all his power into a single point. The warrior activated the twin sky rending technique, unleashing a massive, destructive explosion of golden light. The golden slashes covered the entire lawn, instantly slicing through and destroying dozens of skeleton warriors. Noah landed on the stone floor as the smoke from the divine technique began to clear from the area. The young man complained about the nuisance, noticing that the undead were beginning to regenerate and rise from the ground once again. He activated his hybrid aura, concentrating golden-purple electricity around his combat boots. Noah darted like lightning through the middle of the army, slashing each opponent with high-speed, precise strikes. The young man ignored the skeletons and lunged straight at Skull, launching a surprise attack focused on his red-haired brother. Skull blocked the blow and roared in fury, asking if the hero truly believed he could defeat his entire army. They exchanged rapid slashes. While Noah was locked in a struggle with Skull, many skeletons attempted to attack the young man from behind, but he tracked their presence with extreme ease in the yard. With a perfect circular swing of his sword, the hero unleashed an omnidirectional attack that crushed all the skeleton invaders. Noah clashed his sword powerfully against Skull, creating a large collision of purple and golden energy between them. The young man pressed forward, warning his brother that he didn't care about the number of pieces of trash sent his way. He repeated his agile movements, unleashing more golden light blades to tear the surrounding skeletons to shreds. Skull was sent flying by the shockwave and collapsed onto the ground, groaning in pure pain and extreme physical exhaustion. The two enemies looked at each other, gasping for breath from a distance in the courtyard, which had been completely ravaged by the explosions of power. The orange-haired man stabbed his sword deep into the ground, channeling all his dark energy directly into the earth. Terrifying purple cracks tore through the ground, creating spikes that erupted from the earth and lunged toward the hero. Noah was startled by the speed of the earth attack and quickly repositioned himself to avoid being hit. Suddenly, a giant bone dragon appeared, shattering the ground under the command of the furious Skull. Skull pointed his sword in a rage and ordered the monster to attack and tear the hero apart. Noah observed the giant bone dragon while a powerful surge of energy began to swell around him. Flashing a confident smile, the young man decided it was time to test his new mystical ability. A system window revealed that his holy core had leveled up and unlocked a rare eye technique. The young hero took a stance and prepared to activate the fifth form of the divine combat style. His eyes flashed brilliantly as he activated the special ability to control divine shadow. Noah leaped toward the giant monster. The young man floated in the air above the dragon, focusing on his next combat move. He lunged downward like a bolt of lightning toward the enemy, radiating a purple and golden aura. The hero focused his glowing gaze straight into the bone dragon's terrifying golden eyes. Noah landed precisely on the monster's head. The young man stood firmly on the beast's head, leaving Skull completely shocked by the bizarre spectacle. Understanding nothing, the villain yelled desperately, demanding the monster destroy the hero immediately. Noah explained that his eye technique had decoded the enemy's movements and seized absolute control. He declared that the monster was now his slave, and the orange-haired man cursed in annoyance, telling him not to play games. Furious, Skull decided to attack himself, preparing the first form of the abyss style. The villain fired a powerful dark projectile that pierced the dragon. A massive, destructive explosion of dark energy occurred, shattering the surroundings of the mansion. At the same time, the protagonist had circled around to his back. Skull took a quick slash to the back and spurted blood, forcing him to jump away in a hurry to keep his distance. Wounded quite heavily, the villain admitted he had no choice left but to resort to a final measure. He pulled out a small metal flute and began to play, releasing dark smoke around himself. A giant dark portal surrounded by blue lightning opened in the air, leaving the young man curious about the magic. Young Eve appeared, stepping through the magical passage, escorted by two dangerous masked soldiers. Skull gave a sly smile and asked if his brother truly thought he could save her from this. A mercenary placed a sword to Eve's throat, creating an extremely tense hostage situation. Noah was extremely furious and called his brother a coward when he saw his sister's life in serious danger. The villain assured him that he would release the hostage only after he destroyed the hero. Noah gritted his teeth in frustration, trying to find a way to resolve the situation without Eve getting hurt. Suddenly, a massive pillar of red light descended from high above, shattering the ground between the two brothers. Skull retreated, panicked by the power of the explosion, not understanding who dared to interfere here. The majestic Heir Damien appeared in heavy armor and a shield, standing right in front of Eve. Skull panicked when he recognized his older brother, and Noah observed the appearance of the powerful ally. Damien sternly warned that Eve had declared neutrality and the rules of the struggle prohibited attacking her. The redhead furiously retorted, trying to justify his desperate actions to win the succession. With red eyes flashing, Damien assured him that he would destroy Skull for violating the family rules. The villain collapsed to the ground, cursing in a rage when he realized his plan had completely failed. The older brother focused a sharp gaze and warned the redhead not to pull any stupid tricks here. He reminded everyone that this was a fight to the death focused only on seizing the opponent's core. Noah firmly assured that he would not allow anyone to obstruct his path to victory. Damien pointed out that interfering in the struggle was also a crime, and he would decide the outcome of this battle. He ordered Noah and Skull to fight with all their might, while he observed the results as a referee. The young master drew his sword again and invited his redhead brother to continue the duel in the yard. He sarcastically asked if his opponent could fight without having to resort to hostages and children. Skull went completely insane when he realized everyone continued to mock his abilities. Skull focused and decided to summon the seventh form of the dangerous abyss style. In the yard, he activated the dark cloak technique, covering his entire body in thick purple smoke. The redhead lunged forward in a rage, promising that this time he would slice the hero into 1,000 pieces without mercy. Noah realized his opponent's style focused on disrupting the enemy's mind and perception. The young man concluded that forcing an attack without giving any openings was the best tactic for victory. The two heirs clashed violently in the center of the yard, creating electric sparks and strong winds. Skull summoned dark illusion clones to attack from multiple sides to try to disrupt the young man's defense. Noah reacted quickly, activating the twin sky rending technique with a powerful golden aura. A massive explosion of light and purple energy spread out, destroying the opponent's clones. Noah was greatly astonished to realize his brother had blocked his strongest divine attack. Not giving the hero time to breathe, the redhead prepared the fourth form of the terrifying abyss style. He summoned the invisible slash, radiating red and dark flames across his entire blade. Skull unleashed a secret attack, tearing through Noah's defense, who tried to protect himself from the fatal collision. The young master poured in terrifying physical effort to block the blow, pressing hard against the light sword. Noah received a light cut on his cheek and realized that this enhanced blow was undefendable. The young man was sent flying backward as he tried to regain his balance on the ground. Skull advanced aggressively, shouting that the hero wouldn't be able to escape his relentless attacks. They exchanged new rapid attacks, creating a spectacle of golden and purple light across the battlefield. Noah groaned from exhaustion under the heavy pressure from Skull, who continued to press forward relentlessly. The redhead was frustrated when he realized his younger brother had miraculously avoided a fatal wound. Noah stood firm, raising his sword to restrain his opponent's terrifying series of blows. Massive golden pillars of light erupted from the ground, shattering the stone courtyard with extreme violence. Skull leaped nimbly to escape the massive shockwave that swept through the entire combat area. Noah realized his opponent's illusion swordsmanship and strong defense were his greatest strength. Noah asked why someone as talented as him had to use cowardly methods in the clan's struggle. Skull roared that he had been cast aside by his father, who who thought his illusion talent was useless to the clan. The villain explained that resentment had driven him to create the Abyss style to prove his true worth. Skull recalled with bitterness the day the family head completely ignored him, disregarding his efforts. Consumed by hatred, the redhead assured that the only option left for him was to win at all costs. With a face covered in blood, he swore he would make their father recognize his power through this fight. The villain said he didn't mind getting his hands dirty with evil deeds. As a giant red pillar rose, Skull ordered the end of the dialogue and ordered the young man to become fuel for his great victory. In the struggle, the redhead prepared to summon the 9th form of the Abyss style, releasing massive energy. He summoned the Dark Dragon's destruction, creating a giant red fire monster in the air. The giant red fire monster hovered in the cloudy sky, spreading terror across the area. The red fire dragon lunged downward at high speed straight toward Noah's position on the ground. An absurd explosion occurred in the center of the yard, destroying the walls and floor with extreme power. Noah managed to protect himself by creating a golden light spherical shield to contain the massive explosion. The young man appeared standing firm amidst the golden sparks, keeping his sword ready for the final confrontation. The giant red and dark fire dragon hovered right behind Skull, displaying terrifying power. Noah realized his demon core had reached a critical energy limit and was beginning to overload. Skull laughed, saying his younger brother stood no chance of winning, relying only on ordinary abilities. Without hesitation, the young man reached inside his shirt, searching for his secret trump card. The redhead's eyes widened, extremely shocked to realize the mysterious item Noah was holding. The young man revealed that he had condensed his own accumulated toxins to use as a power stimulant. Noah placed the stabilized poison pill into his mouth, swallowing the dangerous item without a moment's hesitation. Skull roared in horror, asking if the young man was insane for swallowing something that could make him lose control. Consumed by fury, the hero began to release a terrifying amount of golden and purple energy through all his wounds. Noah smiled, saying the toxin would act as the perfect fuel to restore his power. A system window appeared confirming his holy divine core had reached level 20 and unlocked a new blow. Noah recalled his previous life as Xenon and vowed to never let history repeat itself in this life. He accumulated energy in his blade and decided to summon the 2nd form of the powerful holy style. The hero activated Brilliance of Light and Shadow, releasing a massive amount of electrochemical energy. He executed a downward slash while Skull's terrifying red fire dragon lunged aggressively. The two giant techniques collided in the yard and Noah's attack sliced the fire dragon in two. The massive collision created a violent mixed energy explosion that completely destroyed the scenery. The terrifying shockwave sent both warriors flying backward into the ruined courtyard. A giant dome of destructive energy spread through the gap, glowing with great intensity. A massive cloud of dust and debris was kicked into the sky due to the absurd power of the blow. Damien acted quickly and used a giant metal shield to protect his younger sister from the powerful blast wave and the giant mushroom cloud rising above the mansion, marking the end of the colossal confrontation. The older brother waited for the smoke to clear, revealing the courtyard completely devastated by the collision. Damien and Eve observed the situation in astonishment, not knowing who had survived the explosion. The wind blew away the smoke, revealing the defeated Skull kneeling. While the young master stood firm, Noah pointed his blade at his opponent's neck and calmly revealed that he did not want to take his life. The hero ordered the traitor to surrender, but the redhead only bowed his head in absolute silence. Skull pretended to accept defeat, promising to hand over the demon core, and Noah calmly accepted the deal. Suddenly, Noah's combat instinct screamed a warning as he realized his brother's sly expression. Before the young man could react, the villain's silver sword had pierced his abdomen in anger. Skull broke into a completely insane smile, laughing loudly because he had tricked the hero. The villain put more force into the hilt, pushing the bloody blade deeper into Noah's chest. Damien and Eve witnessed the horrific treacherous attack, amazed by the redhead older brother's cowardly attitude. Skull roared crazily, declaring that he would never accept surrendering or kneeling before someone like him. He withdrew the sword violently, screaming that no one was to stand above his power. Noah coughed and collapsed onto the stone floor while clutching his serious abdominal wound. Desperate to see the young man's catastrophic condition, young Eve ran toward him, shouting his name. Damien seriously grabbed the young girl's arm to stop her from interfering in the ongoing fight. Skull raised his metal sword, aggressively assuring that Noah's battle and journey would end right here. However, Noah launched a quick final slash that cut through the air, creating a large gash on his chest. Skull was hit directly by the desperate counterattack and fell backward, completely defeated. The orange-haired villain lay motionless on the lawn after taking Noah's final blow. Silence returned to the mansion yard while both warriors lay on the stone foundation. Noah sadly realized that his new family preferred to sacrifice their own lives in the name of pride. The image showed both warriors lying down, representing the horrific cost of the struggle. Eve struggled to break free from Damien and ran desperately, collapsing beside the young man's wounded body. Damien warned that the wound was very serious, but she declared she would use secret magic to heal her younger brother. The young girl focused to the maximum, releasing a thick and brilliant green healing mist over the young man. She placed both hands on his chest and activated the first form of the Shadow Flower style. The Shadow Lantern spell spread through Noah's body, beginning to regenerate the internal tissues. The green mystical energy flowed rapidly through the energy meridians in Noah's arm, soothing the pain. Noah woke up in a daze. The young girl explained with relief that she could control his cores very well. The young man offered a faint smile and sincerely thanked his sister for saving his life there. Eve pointed to Skull's collapsed body and declared that the reward for victory now belonged to Noah. Skull's red demonic core hovered in midair, emitting a large amount of dark energy. Noah focused his attention on the glowing orb, realizing this was an opportunity to become stronger. The hero knelt before his defeated opponent's body under the calm and watchful gaze of his sister Eve. He reached his right hand toward the core, absorbing the dense red energy of his opponent. Noah felt a massive surge of golden and purple electrical energy coursing through his new body. With eyes flashing purple, the young man looked at the system panel confirming the fusion with the new core. The system window showed that his demonic core had increased from 2 stars to 5 stars in power. Noah was surprised to find that his dark energy had advanced the equivalent of many years of physical training. The young man observed his surroundings, satisfied to realize that the dangerous situation had been resolved. His blonde, older brother Cease approached the location, walking calmly after the battle had ended. Cease surprisingly admitted that he had never imagined his younger brother would be capable of defeating the dangerous Skull. He asked if Eve was all right and the young girl confirmed, saying that Damien had saved her at the most critical moment. Cease was impressed while Damien stood with his arms crossed, saying he was only enforcing family law. The older brother prepared to leave, stowing his giant metal shield on his back. Damien walked past the young man, giving a serious and evaluating look at the victorious heir, while the other brothers watched their allies' departure with worried and tense expressions. Damien curiously pondered Noah's mysterious power, which seemed to far exceed a normal core. Suddenly, a white-haired subordinate approached the group, interrupting their thoughts. The palace servant formally announced that the powerful family head Victor was summoning Noah. The scene shifts, revealing the majestic architecture of the grand citadel where the feared leader of the family resided. In his office, Victor commented that he had heard about Noah seizing the demonic core of the defeated Skull. The powerful leader glanced at the young master with eyes as sharp as knives, demanding confirmation of the truth. Noah maintained an elegant posture and answered directly, confirming that he had emerged victorious from the battle. Victor asked about Skull's strength, and Noah sincerely admitted that his brother was superior to him in every aspect. Curious, the family head asked why the young man believed he could win the succession struggle. Noah felt the terrifying mental pressure from his father and concentrated to give the best possible answer. He steadfastly declared that his thirst for power was greater than that of any other opponent. Victor offered a faint, satisfied smile. Considering it an excellent answer from a warrior, the family head warned that the deceased had committed unforgivable crimes and swore to reward the young man. Noah seized the opportunity and requested that his reward be to be sent on a mission to a very specific location. His father was surprised by his lack of greed, pointing out that he could have asked for weapons or gold. The young man replied that the benefits gained from this journey would be greater than any treasure. Pleased with his son's focus, Victor accepted the condition and asked what his desired destination was. The scene shifts as a carriage crossed a narrow and dangerous dirt road amidst mist-covered mountains. Inside the carriage, Noah explained to the two maids that this trip was not for sightseeing. The young man offered a calm smile and asked them to handle everything regarding his affairs. The two maids happily agreed, promising to do their best to support him on his mission. Suddenly, Lydia's eyes widened when she saw a majestic and impressive sight through the window. The maid waved excitedly, pointing toward the horizon and announcing that their destination had appeared. Noah observed the legendary city built through an ancient alliance between dragons and humans. That was the legendary Draconia, a great city surrounded by colossal mountain peaks and winged beasts in the sky. Not long after moving, they were blocked by two guards, forcing the carriage to come to a halt. As he stepped out of the carriage, the young man was greeted by the guards, who asked if he was the heir to the Daskul house. The scaly warriors formally introduced themselves as official envoys of Draconia. The guards offered to guide the group from there along the mountain stone path. Noah focused his purple gaze as he sensed a strange and hostile shift in the energy around them. The young man stared toward the mountain range, realizing that something dangerous was approaching. Noah smiled faintly, thanking the local envoys for the important support they provided. Suddenly, red ogre monsters leaped down from the hills, screaming that they had identified their target from the Daskul family. One monster slammed violently onto the ground, creating a thick screen of dust on the road. A pack of ogres with sharp horns completely surrounded the young master's carriage on the spot. The scaly guards panicked and drew their weapons, demanding Noah step back to protect himself. The ogre tribe was a race of warriors specialized in fighting for control of this mountainous region. They valued brute strength and conflict, while the lizard people respected order and laws. The leader explained that the beasts were trying to obstruct the mission, and Noah assured him that he fully understood the danger. The hero ordered Lydia and Selena to get into the carriage immediately to ensure their safety before the attack. The ogres mocked the young man's appearance, claiming that Draconia had truly fallen for sending such a weak child. The giant ogre leader mocked Noah, telling him to turn back if he wanted to live. The hero only offered a sarcastic smile in the face of such arrogance from the red beast. Noah retorted to the provocation, saying that he would spare his opponent's life if he ran away immediately. Completely enraged by the young man's mockery, the monster called him an insolent brat on the road. Completely enraged by the young man's mockery, the monster called him an insolent brat on the road. It inflated its body, gathered energy, and swore it would crush every bone in the young master's body. The ogre lunged, throwing a heavy punch that created a massive screen of dust and wind on the clearing. Noah remained calm and entered a quick-draw stance, channeling hybrid energy into his sword. The opponent's giant fists lunged down at high speed toward the hero's head. The young man performed a spectacular backflip, easily escaping the beast's violent lunge. The punch collided and shattered the stone ground, creating deep cracks all across the battlefield. Noah performed an acrobatic backflip in midair, keeping his sharp purple eyes fixed on his opponent. The monster roared in extreme fury as the young master prepared to counterattack. The hero swooped down toward the enemy, manipulating the airflow to increase his falling speed, and activated the first form of the divine style, unleashing the powerful mystical light technique. A giant, brilliant golden sword slash cut through the air and struck straight at the position of the giant ogre. However, it dodged that attack and circled behind the protagonist. Before he could react, a mountain-shattering punch was unleashed, causing the boy's body to fly backward like a cannonball. Fortunately, the protagonist was not injured at all after that attack. The young man pointed out that while its strength was impressive, its attack moves were very slow. Humiliated, the monster stood up, screaming in anger and calling the young master a foolish, arrogant brat. It threw a giant horizontal punch toward the hero, who was hovering in midair. Noah dodged with extreme grace, gliding past the beast's arm with startling dexterity. He executed a perfect diagonal slash with his golden blade, severing the ogre's limb in midair. The ogre leader coughed violently and collapsed, defeated on the stone ground. After the final slash, the hero looked at the remaining monsters on the mountain and challenged them all to come down and fight him. The young man stood in a defensive stance, facing the remaining enemies who were observing from the hilltop. The ogres roared in anger and began charging down the rocks at high speed to attack the hero. Noah calmly observed the army rushing toward the ground, determined to crush the young noble. He focused and prepared the second form of the divine fighting style, radiating an intense light. With agile moves, he fired golden energy blades, slicing all the monsters down in midair. The corpses of the defeated ogres fell to the ground lifeless, confirming the young man's swift victory. The Draconia guards witnessed it in awe, admitting that his power far exceeded all the rumors. The two maids stepped out of the carriage to praise the hero, and Noah reprimanded them for not following his orders. Selena smiled and said that it was the duty of a maid to always witness the great victories of their master. Noah glanced toward the mountaintop, where the final enemy was hiding and revealing itself. In the sky, a majestic warrior riding a red-winged dragon was observing the young man seriously. The mysterious knight clad in golden armor leaped off the dragon, quickly swooping down from the clouds. He landed majestically, creating a large screen of dust in his path before everyone. The warrior revealed that he had witnessed the entire battle and praised the power the young man had displayed there. He introduced himself as Adelbalt Fangre, the powerful commander of the local dragon knights. When asked why he hadn't helped, he said that a king cannot be so weak that he needs to be saved. Noah smiled and asked if he had passed the warrior's test. The commander nodded in confirmation, and Adelbalt promised to lead the young master directly to meet the revered Lord Alcardos. The journey continued with an official dragon escort across the city's stone bridges. Selena was amazed to see humans and lizard people living together peacefully on the streets. The two maids commented that a kingdom with such harmony between different races was extremely rare. The guide suggested they could explore the surroundings later, assuring everyone that they would love this place. A majestic green dragon flew across the sky above the carriage, showcasing the grandeur of Draconia. They entered a cave illuminated by mysterious blue runes, led by the warrior's lantern. The group arrived before a giant ancient stone gate carved with the image of a sleeping dragon. Adelbalt raised his lantern and loudly announced that he had brought young master Noah Daskul. The carving on the stone glowed with a pale yellow light as a deep, resonant voice ordered everyone into the main hall. The giant stone structure began to open slowly, revealing the darkness of the mysterious room. The group proceeded through the grand entrance and was immediately greeted by a powerful, mystical gust of wind. Noah felt an overwhelming mental pressure and concluded that it was equivalent to his powerful biological father. The scaly guards couldn't withstand the aura's power and collapsed to the floor, unable to stand up, while the two maids fearfully hid behind the hero, who stood firmly resisting that terrifying gravity. Amidst the darkness of the giant room, two glowing blue eyes appeared, staring at the new visitors. A calm and majestic voice echoed through the darkness, welcoming the young heir of the Daskul family. It was the legendary Lord Alcardos, a majestic white dragon who called Noah the young collaborator. The two maids and the lizard guards waited in absolute silence to express their reverence before the presence of the god. Noah stepped forward and formally introduced himself as the heir sent by the Daskul family. Alcardos brought his giant snout closer and sincerely thanked him for the support from the influential family. The giant dragon focused his glowing blue eyes and whispered that he sensed a nostalgic energy source from the young man. Noah mused, knowing that the Dragon Lord was a mystical god who had lived since the world's ancient age. The young man clenched his fists, causing his hybrid aura of purple and gold to shine brilliantly. The warrior channeled all his mental power, leaving a powerful mystical presence before the Lord. Alcardos observed the light from Noah's flames from above, confirming the greatness of the new holy core. The giant creature was moved to see that divine light once more after many centuries of being completely forgot. The Lord ordered Adelbalt to reveal every detail of the secret mission to the young Daskul heir. The commander spoke up, ready to explain the complex plea for help sent to the noble family. He revealed that their lizard race had faced a horrific and fierce war against the ogres for many years. The warrior explained that the balance of power in the region had recently been broken in the enemy's favor. He pointed out that the ogres had adopted an elite strategist who had finally destroyed Draconia's defensive system. Noah deduced that they were seeking help to balance the war, but the Lord warned that the mission went far beyond that. The enemy race's military commanders were moving their pieces aggressively, conquering more territory on the map. Adelbalt touched his sword and confessed that their true intention was to put a definitive end to the conflict. The scaly warrior revealed that the mission had to be completed quickly before a tragic event occurred. He shared that the revered dragon Lord Alcardos was very old and nearing the sunset of his long life. Noah mused as he realized the time left for this powerful leader was extremely short. The commander revealed that when Alcardos passed away, it would generate a massive source of power called the Alcardos core. Noah remembered that in his past life this mystical treasure had fallen into the wrong hands, causing a great catastrophe. With determination, the young man accepted the difficult mission, promising to prevent the core from being stolen by villains. The Lord thanked him and promised that Noah would be able to collect his remains as rare materials after he passed. The commander vowed to provide full support for the journey and decided to reveal one more dangerous secret about the enemy. Adelbalt said there were rumors spreading that the ogres had captured the legendary 8 treasures orb. Noah was quite worried upon receiving information about the possession of such a dangerous mystical item. This powerful relic was an artifact capable of overwhelmingly enhancing a nation's military power. The hero promised to investigate the situation and planned to ask Eve for support to expose the ogre's secrets. Noah decided to walk through the bustling streets of Draconia to begin his search for personal allies. The young man reflected that an all-out war between the races was inevitable, and he couldn't solve everything alone. The young man wondered if he should recruit an ancient and powerful companion he had met in his past life. He analyzed the ancient script carved on the plaza walls, searching for clues about her whereabouts, and walked to the city's central monument, hoping to find any sign of the legendary warrior. He remembered that she used to operate in this area and celebrated finding her much faster than planned. It was Saint Liliana, a powerful 9-star healer who had saved his life countless times in the past. Noah approached the young woman who was leisurely walking through the plaza, feeling a huge wave of nostalgia as he saw her again. Liliana noticed the young man's fixed gaze and looked back at him with expressive, bright blue eyes. Slightly annoyed, the young girl politely asked him not to stare at her like that. Liliana explained that her next musical performance at the Central Plaza was still quite a while away. Noah was surprised by her words, and she curiously asked if he had come there just to hear her sing. Flustered, he apologized and asked for the young woman's name. Trying to process this new reality, the young woman gripped the neck of her strange instrument, preparing to perform. With a cheerful smile, Liliana formally introduced herself as a simple traveling minstrel from the region. Noah was shocked to realize that the saintess was using her guise as a minstrel to hide her true power. The system revealed that her stats were at the 6-star level, confirming that she hadn't yet reached her peak. Noah adopted a serious posture, called her by name, and said he had an important proposal. After hearing the full explanation, Liliana remarked that she now clearly understood the gravity of the battle against the ogres. However, to the young man's surprise, she crossed her arms and firmly refused to join his combat group. Noah was caught off guard by Liliana's sudden refusal and calmly asked for her reason. The young woman focused her glowing golden eyes, revealing that she could sense his demonic core. Liliana pointed out that a powerful wave of dark energy was radiating from Noah, making the atmosphere in the courtyard grow tense. To convince her, the young man raised his arm, releasing small golden sparks of mystical energy. The saintess was intrigued when she noticed his divine power blending perfectly with the darkness. Liliana accepted the invitation but set an unusual condition, which left the young master quite curious. With a playful smile on her face, she asked the young man to find her the perfect romantic boyfriend. Noah was completely shocked and stuttered in surprise, unable to believe the girl's eccentric request. The young man imagined the awkward situations from his past life. Recalling her ally's peculiar habit, she demanded that her suitor be a strong gentleman, forbidding anyone carrying a demonic core. Noah smirked, realizing that Liliana's enthusiastic personality hadn't changed one bit. The hero thought of the dragon Adelbalt and assured her that he had the perfect candidate to help her. Immediately, the young woman held out her hand to seal the partnership, warning that she would place all her trust in his word. Noah shook Liliana's hand firmly, closing the deal under his new identity as Noah Daskell. The carriage departed, leaving the majestic mountain city of Draconia behind. Heading toward their new goal while walking through the mountain range, Liliana asked why they had traveled so far, and Noah told her they needed to train. The young man revealed that a powerful magical tool lay dormant in a hidden sanctuary within that area. Suddenly, Noah's sharp instincts detected a powerful threat approaching the rocky location. The pair arrived before the collapsed entrance of a dark cave that radiated dangerous spiritual energy. He activated his holy power and saw something. An ancient magic circle activated on the stone. Noah quickly drew his weapon and stepped to the front. The young man unleashed a precise slash into the magic circle. A large cloud of purple smoke dissipated, and Noah stood ready, knowing the sanctuary was extremely heavily guarded. They stepped into the darkness of the cave, advancing with extreme caution. The minstrel pointed out that the barrier was a warning of extreme danger for anyone attempting to pass. He jokingly asked if she was scared, but she assured him she wasn't the least bit afraid. Inside, the cave was filled with beautiful, glowing blue crystals that illuminated the path. Noah led the group, keeping his sword ready for any sign of a threat. Suddenly, a shadow fast as lightning cut through the air, forcing the hero to raise his weapon into a quick defensive stance. Three wolf-like horned beasts emerged from the darkness and lunged toward the group. Liliana opened her magic support book and said she would take charge of rear-guard support during the battle. A sharp-horned wolf leaped with high speed, trying to bite the hero with its razor-sharp teeth. Noah focused, channeling electrical power into his blade and preparing to unleash a vertical slash. With lightning-fast movements, the young man sliced both beasts in midair using his holy swordsmanship. The defeated monsters fell to the ground, split in two as the hero swung his blade expertly. The Heir smirked sarcastically, declaring he could defeat such weak-level opponents all by himself. Liliana was extremely impressed by the young man's speed and praised his combat skills. Suddenly, a giant-scaled tail emerged from the cave's shadows, moving stealthily behind him. Noah realized the lethal presence too late and desperately shouted his new ally's name. Another giant, sharp-horned wolf dropped from the sanctuary's ceiling, aiming straight for the young woman's back. The beast slammed into the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust, but Liliana managed to step back and dodge. The minstrel gained momentum and unleashed a spectacular kick covered in golden light toward the monster. The physical impact sent the giant wolf flying back into the cliff face, destroying the creature. She adjusted her hat and proudly commented that she knew how to defend herself very well, and Noah acknowledged her great strength. The young woman pointed out that she had never seen this type of monster before, and Noah explained that the cave was gathering dragon energy. He detailed that the high concentration of magic caused local beasts to evolve in unique and dangerous ways. The girl fearfully admitted that she didn't expect this place to be so hostile. Noah comforted his ally, assuring her that the magic item they were looking for was very close. Liliana curiously asked if the item they were seeking was really a powerful magic tool. Noah explained that the mysterious artifact would be an essential safety guarantee for the group, and they continued to walk quickly, venturing deeper into the dangerous rocky landscape of the mystical cave. The Heir announced that they were about to reach the deepest and darkest area of the dangerous sanctuary. Liliana widened her expressive blue eyes when she caught a glimpse of something glowing in the center of the hall. The minstrel happily pointed, gesturing toward the stone pedestal where a very ancient metal sword was lying. Noah sensed danger and shouted desperately, ordering her to stop and not touch the mystical object. A terrifying and massive hostile presence suddenly emerged from the darkness of the blue cave ceiling. The young man focused his sharp purple gaze, detecting the immense hostile intent of the lurking enemy. He shouted a warning for her to be careful while rushing toward his chaotic companion. Noah managed to scoop the girl into his arms at the very last second, saving her from the attack of a horrific sharp-horned lizard. A massive creature covered in sharp purple spikes roared fiercely, blocking the hero's path. The hero worriedly realized the only exit from the cave had been completely blocked by the monster. The mystical beast opened its giant maw and fired an overwhelming stream of red fire toward them. Noah cursed in frustration, realizing the wide range of the fire attack made standard dodging impossible. Liliana reacted quickly, opening her mystical book to cast a powerful defensive spell. The minstrel reached out and began chanting mysterious verses to alter the laws of physics in the area. She summoned the sacred circle barrier, creating a giant hexagonal shield in the courtyard. The massive fire swept across the entire stone hall, colliding violently with the saintess's mystical shield. The intense heat melted the surrounding stone, creating smoke and sparks that obscured their entire vision. The magic shield glowed with great intensity, perfectly withstanding all of the enemy's firepower. Noah praised Liliana's excellent support skills as he saw her restrain the dragon's violent attack. The young man gathered momentum and stomped hard on the stone floor, shifting to an offensive stance against the giant monster. Covered in purple and gold lightning, he rushed relentlessly toward the body of the giant elite opponent. Noah jumped high toward the beast's chest, preparing the finishing blow with his electro-enhanced sword. He unleashed a powerful attack that tore through the monster's hard scales, causing massive physical damage. The sharp-horned lizard's dark fluid splashed onto the stone floor, confirming the effectiveness of the mystical slash. The beast roared in extreme pain, trying to bite the intruder who was moving at terrifying speed. Noah performed multiple acrobatic spins, unleashing a series of continuous attacks that disrupted the enemy's defense. Liliana worriedly warned that the intensity of the fight was causing the cave walls to collapse rapidly. The minstrel quickly flipped through her mystical book, preparing to cast a new crowd control spell in the area. She summoned the sacred circle pillar, channeling chains of golden light to restrain the opponent. The electrical chains bound the giant purple sharp-horned lizard tightly, preventing it from moving any further. Liliana shouted hurriedly, warning that the restraint wouldn't last and telling him to finish it off quickly. Noah decided to focus all his blade energy into one point to prevent a total collapse. The monster tried to launch a desperate attack with its giant sharp-horned tail toward Noah's position. The young man dodged skillfully and activated the first form of the divine style, preparing the final blow with the blinding light of light and darkness. The young master's mystical sword gathered a massive amount of power. Noah lunged straight into the monster's wide-open jaws, which tried in vain to break his divine lunge. He let out a battle cry, unleashing a divine thrust that pierced through the opponent's armor scales. The tip of the blade channeled and released all the combined energy, exploding in front of the opponent's chest. A brilliant beam of purple and gold light cut across the cave, destroying the lizard in spectacular fashion. The young man landed expertly while the sanctuary floor continued to crack from the enormous power generated. The defeated carcass of the purple sharp-horned beast collapsed lifelessly to the ground, closing the decisive victory. Noah checked to see if she was injured, but Liliana said she was fine and insisted on leaving before the cave collapsed. They ran side by side as the hero took the opportunity to seize the legendary sword stuck in the stone pedestal. With a firm movement, the young man grabbed the golden hilt of the weapon, which radiated a purple light on the stone. Noah held the mystical dragon sword high, happily confirming possession of the powerful dispersing tool. The young man agreed with his partner and told them to quickly leave this dangerous place before it collapsed. On the horizon, warriors riding wyverns flew across the draconian sky, maintaining the guard of the kingdom. Noah handed a mysterious letter to Liliana, making the young girl quite curious about the content of the paper. The young man smiled and explained that he was fulfilling his promise to introduce her to the Knight Commander, Adelbal. Liliana was overjoyed with the gift and enthusiastically thanked Noah for all his help. The young girl ran off very excitedly to meet the commander as the protagonist waved goodbye to her. Afterward, Noah calmly walked toward the entrance of a bustling local tavern. The hero entered the tavern, searching for someone while the patrons were chatting happily at their tables. The waiter approached and told Noah that a mysterious guest was waiting for him there. Noah was surprised by this news and wondered who the mysterious guest in this place could be. The blonde young man named Cease waved from afar when he spotted the hero, showing great familiarity with him. Noah approached and curiously asked what his brother was doing there. Cease handed him a sealed envelope and said that all the important details of the investigation were written inside. The intelligent ally Eve had investigated deep into the 8 treasures orb right after Noah contacted her. Cease yawned as the hero read that the dangerous artifact had been stolen recently from a neighboring kingdom. The perpetrator had fled toward Draconia, indicating that this relic was intended to be used in the upcoming war. The report sent a critical warning about the severe dangers of using that powerful mystical item. The document stated that the orb's power was destructive and capable of wiping an entire city off the map. The horrific mystical magic known as Starfall had the potential to cause unprecedented destruction. Noah carefully read the details on the paper. Noah was startled to realize this was the very magic that had destroyed Draconia in his past life. The message ended with a warning that she had sent Cease to assist, and a request that the young man must return safely from the mission. The blonde young man explained that besides serving as support, he wanted to observe the Dragon Knight's combat up close. He smiled and said this was a great deal, and the young master sincerely thanked his brother for the support. Suddenly, the tavern door was pushed open with great force, drawing the attention of everyone inside. Liliana appeared looking extremely angry, dragging the terrified Commander Adelbalt right behind her into the room. The minstrel pointed at Noah, shouting in rage that this situation was not what they had agreed upon. She slammed the table, yelling that the warrior already had a wife and she would never agree to get intimately involved with a married man. All the patrons in the tavern were completely shocked by the girl's bizarre revelation. Noah tried to hide his embarrassment when he realized he had completely forgotten that the commander was married. The commander also apologized awkwardly, affirming he would never betray his beloved wife. Noah tried to reassure Liliana, promising to find another single candidate for her. However, Liliana fixed her gaze on the table and instantly fell in love when she noticed the presence of the blonde young man sitting there. Cease noticed her strange reaction and became extremely flustered, not understanding what was happening. The minstrel didn't hesitate to run over and grab Cease's arm tightly with glowing, passionate eyes. Liliana hugged him, declaring that he was her perfect type because he had an incredibly muscular and toned physique. Cease panicked completely at the minstrel's boldness and tried to struggle away, wondering what was wrong with her. Noah just stood by and laughed loudly, explaining that the blonde young man was the perfect ally he had promised to introduce. Liliana squeezed Cease's hand very hard, making the blonde hero extremely embarrassed on the spot. The girl shamelessly asked if he wanted to spend a romantic evening with her, leaving the blonde young man horrified. He pushed her away, face blushing with shame, and shouted for her not to speak about intimate matters so easily. Cease called out to Noah for help, but the protagonist laughed loudly, saying the minstrel could do whatever she wanted with his brother. The hero gave a thumbs up and happily declared that his promise to the minstrel had been fulfilled. Cease tried to push Liliana away, but the girl clung to his neck with immense strength and determination. He pushed her cheeks away while the minstrel cheerfully assured him that from now on, she would be under his care. The blonde young man shouted in anger that he had never agreed to this crazy deal. Trying to escape the girl's embrace, he performed a giant leap to flee, running desperately away from the minstrel's relentless pursuit. Liliana screamed as he fled while the protagonist stood watching the entire chaotic scene with great amusement. The blonde young man seriously said he would relay all of Eve's important findings straight to the Dragon King. Noah agreed and assured him he would do his best while his brother was temporarily absent. Before leaving, the brother seriously warned the young man not to push himself too hard in the difficult war. The young man warned that the fearsome Ogre King was a giant opponent with a power level equal to their father. Cease ran desperately to escape while Liliana shouted, telling him to wait for her. Noah acted quickly and grabbed Liliana's clothes to prevent her from chasing after his blonde brother. The hero advised that they had no more time to chase after his brother at this critical moment, and revealed that they were about to infiltrate the dangerous main base of the enemy ogre army. Liliana looked at the massive village with worry and asked if he really intended to attack that place with just the two of them. The young man explained that their true goal was to destroy the 8 treasures orb, not to start an open war. Even after hearing his partner's logical explanation, the minstrel was still quite concerned about his plan. She asked how they could possibly slip past the entire dense force of monster guards in the village. Noah suddenly picked Liliana up in his arms, confidently commenting that ogres were very slow creatures. The protagonist concentrated powerful magical lightning energy into his boots to maximize his speed. With the girl in his arms, Noah smiled, assuring her that they would glide past the guards like a flash of lightning. The hero dashed forward at high speed, leaving nothing but a mystical streak of light on the stone stairs. The pair raced across the entire monster village at an absurd speed, giving the enemy no time to react. An ogre guard sensed a slight breeze and a mysterious light passing close to his position. He panicked as he realized a blurred golden streak was rushing toward the main gate of the base, but before he could raise an alarm, his head was sliced clean off. It fell straight at the feet of another soldier, causing him to panic immediately as he realized they were under attack. Before he was beheaded, he managed to scream a warning to the others. Noah realized the guards had discovered the infiltration, but Liliana told him not to worry about that detail. The minstrel proudly revealed that she had cast a magical sound-dampening barrier, silencing all noise in the area. Noah smiled, praising the amazing skills of his ally, who always proved extremely useful in battle. Thanks to the barrier, the other ogres remained standing at their posts, completely unaware of the infiltration taking place. Liliana asked her partner if he knew exactly where the monster was keeping the powerful artifact. Noah replied that the mystical item was surely hidden in the deepest area where the tribe's supreme leader resided. The hero recalled that in his past life, Fungus was just a coward who always allied himself with the strongest. The young man concluded that if this criminal was involved with the ogres, the precious orb would certainly be guarded there. The two finally landed on the stone floor, ready to begin the most dangerous part of the infiltration. They stopped before the giant gate of the main fortress, which radiated evil and terrifying energy. Very carefully, the pair opened a slit in the large wooden door to observe the dark hall inside. Noah signaled that the way was clear, and the two quietly began descending the stairs inside. The heavy doors closed on their own with a muffled thud, locking the two young intruders inside that lava temple. They ran quickly toward the center of the giant underground temple. Noah discovered a glowing altar and told his ally that he had finally found the legendary orb they had been searching for so long. However, the protagonist suddenly stopped when he felt an overwhelming hostile presence appearing behind them. The hero immediately swung his sword backward, but there was no one there. The young man realized there was a presence hiding in the hall that he hadn't detected before being attacked. Just then, a voice rang out from behind, revealing that Fungus was right. The hero was amazed by his opponent's speed, as he had acted at the exact moment he turned in the hall. A giant red ogre appeared, holding the glowing artifact in its claw, and commented that he hadn't expected any intruders. The majestic warrior praised the young man's ability to slip past all the guards in silence. Noah prepared to fight, knowing that confronting this giant monster would not be an easy task for them. The enemy leader radiated a dark aura and threateningly confessed that he despised cowardly tricks in battle. Noah and Liliana entered a combat stance, confident and drawing their swords, the blade glowing with powerful and eloquent purple energy. The giant ogre General Gazel roared in fury, promising to crush the two intruders with his own hands. The terrifying ogre General Gazel radiated overwhelming dark energy, looking down at the two young intruders. Facing imminent danger, Noah quickly activated his mystical appraisal skill to check the enemy. The system began processing the information, but the opponent's physical stats were hidden. Noah was deeply shocked to read that the physical resistance of this powerful ogre leader was simply immeasurable. Sweat ran down the young master's face as he realized he was about to face an absurd opponent. The young man decided to lunge with everything he had and told Liliana to destroy the precious artifact. As soon as he could retreat with a battle cry, the hero attacked the giant monster's chest with the full power of his mystical sword. Noah tried his best, but felt terrifying physical resistance when he tried to pierce the ogre's armored skin. The strike didn't even make the giant flinch, and he mocked the hero, saying his attack was as weak as an insect's. Gazel laughed at the human's fragility and struck Noah, sending the young man flying backward onto the ground with immense force. With just a simple and humiliating flick of his finger, the ogre general repelled the young warrior's attack. The impact of the blow sent Noah flying through the air, slamming hard into the hall. A large dust explosion spread through the underground temple, emphasizing the monster's brute strength. The young man leaned against the stone floor, gasping for air as he tried to catch his breath after the terrifying collision. A horrible crashing sound echoed when Gazel's giant stone mace slammed into the ground near the protagonist. The terrifying monster leaped with his mace held high, laughing loudly and proudly, declaring that this was a true weapon. The general's mace slammed down with fury, but was restrained at the last second by a brilliant golden energy shield. Liliana kept her spellbook open, channeling all her mana to maintain the divine defensive barrier. Gazel found this pure test of physical strength very interesting and increased the pressure on the minstrel's shield. The ogre general tightened his grip on the giant stone mace handle, focusing even more destructive power. The monster's immense strength crushed the barrier, creating terrifying cracks throughout the golden structure. Liliana began to waver from overload and screamed desperately for her companion. And the general wore a savage smile when he realized the light shield was about to shatter completely. The mystical shield exploded into 1,000 pieces, releasing a violent wave of destructive energy throughout the hall. However, the monster's attack was still blocked by the protagonist's holy power. The ogre was surprised to find that the hero had blocked the final blow even after the barrier shattered. Seizing the opening, Noah dashed forward, unleashing a diagonal slash to try and wound his opponent's chest. Liliana retreated to a safe distance and worriedly asked her partner if he was truly alright. Noah confessed that he was struggling and was amazed by the destructive power of just one of the enemy's blows. The young man seriously warned that they had no chance of winning if they continued to fight head-on. With a determined gaze, the young master planned to use alternative tactics to overcome his opponent. He decided to bet on a risky strategy, scattering special fragments across the stone floor. Noah asked Liliana to coordinate precisely with the plan, and the minstrel prepared to cast her magic. The young man threw his magical sword at his opponent as a temporary decoy in the battle. Liliana summoned Divine Judgment, unleashing an impressive rain of golden light spears from the ceiling. Noah ran at high speed beneath the storm of light spears, aiming for the ogre general's blind spot. Gazel laughed confidently, roaring that such weak attacks would never defeat him. With a quick motion of his mace, the monster easily destroyed the light spears created by the saint. The minstrel bit her lip in fear, realizing her strongest spell had caused no real damage. Noah activated his divine power technique, focusing an intense, brilliant golden aura in his hands. Under the hero's command, the earlier fragments began to rise and glow brilliantly. The young man fired the holy demonic flying blades, surprising the giant monster with the attack. Noah yelled persuasively, warning that the monster would have nowhere to hide from this combined power. A giant column of light and golden lightning struck Gazel, destroying everything around him in a rage. The ogre general's eyes flashed with unyielding murderous anger. Even after taking the full impact of the spell, the monster lunged with hatred through the glaring light, swinging his stone mace to tear through the air and crush the intruder. Noah did not back down and decided to confront the giant head-on. Running toward the enemy, the young man prepared his physical stance, focusing all his remaining mental strength into his right leg. The hero unleashed a powerful kick, summoning a giant magic circle that struck Gazel in the chin. Noah fell backward after throwing the punch, but quickly used the air to regain his fighting balance. The hero quickly pointed his index finger, firing the mystical sword toward the enemy's floating target. The sword flew fast and struck the energy orb being protected by the ogre general in the hall. Noah gritted his teeth in anger and yelled with all his might for the powerful artifact to be destroyed once and for all. The attack struck the core of the artifact, creating glowing cracks and triggering a massive chain reaction. Waves of golden energy and lightning began to escape from the damaged orb, which was about to explode in a rage. Gazel reached out, trying to contain the terrifying reaction of the treasure. As the violent explosion threw the hero away, a blinding and destructive light covered both warriors' vision, signaling the activation of the massive explosion. A massive explosion shook the temple's stone structure, creating terrifying heat waves everywhere. The destructive impact swept through the entire ogre village, leaving the monsters panicked by the massive amount of energy released. In the air, the pair was covered by a honeycomb-shaped golden shield to protect them from dangerous debris. Liliana sighed with relief, believing they had won, but Noah seriously warned her not to let her guard down. A savage laugh echoed through the flames, revealing that the ogre general had survived the horrific explosion. Gazel emerged majestically from the smoke, mocking the attack and calling the explosion a fun little joke. An army of ogres rushed toward the two heroes, who realized the danger of being surrounded. The hero prepared to retreat nimbly, knowing that confronting that entire army would be madness. A giant pillar collapsed, shattering the stone floor as the monsters tried to crush their exit, and suddenly a giant dragon flew across the red sky. And Noah smiled when he recognized the mystical creature. Cease appeared riding the mystical creature and hurriedly held out his hand, yelling for his younger brother to hurry up and climb on. Noah picked Liliana up in his arms again and hurried away before the enemy could catch up. Stone pillars growing from everywhere were the path that helped the protagonist leap into the air. From high up in the sky, Noah analyzed and observed the battlefield, planning the next steps of his journey. On the ground, Gazel laughed savagely, holding the broken orb and radiating a terrifying dark, murderous aura. The treasure's mystical orb seemed to be out of control, proving Noah's plan had truly succeeded. Noah focused his bright purple eyes toward the horizon, aware that the battle had only just begun in this area. The red dragon flew toward the sunset, carrying the two young people safely back to the kingdom of Draconia. In the meeting room, the dragon generals were surprised to see Noah return alive and asked about the artifact. Noah explained that he had delivered a critical strike that caused the artifact's power to spin out of control, reducing its usage limit. Cease commented with satisfaction that because of this, the military situation of the Kingdom of Draconia had improved significantly. Suddenly, a messenger ran into the meeting room, shouting that he needed to make an urgent report. The dragon commander panicked when he heard that the entire ogre army had launched an invasion at the border. Noah remained calm and asserted that everything was going according to plan, because the ogres wanted to end the war before the artifact weakened. The hero promised to put an end to the conflict before the life of the revered dragon lord ended. On the horizon, General Gazel led the relentless ogre army with a savage smile on his face. Before long, the battle between the two sides erupted. The Red Demon Legion surged forward like a tide, cornering the Lizardmen. But the Lizardmen army wasn't a pushover. They quickly formed ranks ready to counterattack. The female mage raised her hand, and a brilliant golden light radiated from the spellbook in her grasp. A blessing spell covered all the soldiers, boosting the strength of the allied forces. Empowered by the buff, the Lizardman warriors suddenly became more aggressive and fearsome than ever before. A red demon was struck with a fatal blow and collapsed instantly. Amidst the scorching battlefield, Cease and the blonde young man charged straight into the enemy encirclement on horseback. The blonde young man shouted that he would clear the path, and Noah just needed to stay close behind. In his heart, Noah was still searching for traces of the two other commanders who had yet to reveal themselves. The blonde young man began to cast, and a green magic circle appeared right on his hand. A rock spear shot forward, knocking away all obstacles to clear the way for them. Not stopping there, he activated Lightning Clad, turning himself into a mobile mass of electricity. Given his confident smile, it was clear that a spectacular performance was about to unfold. He waved his hand, controlling the lightning-imbued stone to fly forward. The stone flew straight toward the demon horde with terrifying speed. Instantly, two demons stepped out to intercept this giant stone. Seeing this, Cease just gave a cold laugh. "Explode," he said, clenching his fist. A blinding explosion erupted, swallowing those who dared to block their path. The force of the attack kicked up a dense cloud of dust, and a large area of the battlefield was covered in electrical currents. The red demons lay strewn across the ground, dead or alive, it was unclear. Noah spurred his horse to gallop quickly through the ruins, pushing deeper into enemy territory. The Lizardman army eagerly charged forward, cheering and surging in waves behind Noah. Noah swung his sword, cutting down any demon in his path with a relentless rhythm. The red demon army began to panic, calling for everyone to consolidate forces to deal with this human. Noah's gaze locked onto the red demon commander who stood arrogantly ahead. A brilliant purple slash cut through, clearing the infantry surrounding the commander. He spurred his horse to jump high, preparing to launch a powerful opening strike. As he got close, he immediately leapt from his horse toward the commander. Noah took his stance, his sword radiating an overwhelming purple and golden light. The blade struck the demon's thick skin, sending sparks flying in all directions. A sharp slash tore through the giant's chest, taking him by surprise. Noah frowned slightly and nodded. This guy was tougher and more resilient than he had expected. The red demon commander gritted his teeth in fury, his hateful eyes fixed on the small intruder. He ordered his underlings to surround him, but Noah remained cold and calm. The demon swung his giant spiked mace, roaring in contempt at Noah's abilities. Noah looked at him as if he were the perfect subject to test the new technique he had just learned. A list of techniques appeared, and Noah began to channel the third awakening of his divine power, Holy demonic fission slash. The sword thrust straight into the demon commander's chest. Yet the tip of his blade only slightly pierced the demon's chest without dealing much damage. This made the commander smug, and he swung his weapon straight toward the protagonist. However, at that very moment, a smile spread across Noah's face as he whispered, "It's over." In the very next instant, the commander's head suddenly began to glow. Afterward, his entire body inflated like a balloon being blown up to its limit. Finally, it exploded directly, blasting away several demons standing nearby. Noah stood there as if completely unaffected by the blast. The remaining red demons froze in horror, seeing their leader taken down in the blink of an eye. Noah let out a sharp whistle, his cold eyes sweeping over the remnants of the army. His sound drew the attention of everyone on the battlefield. Noah held the commander's bloody horn high and loudly declared their victory. The morale of the lizardmen army soared as they rushed out to hunt down the enemy. However, Noah felt uneasy, wondering why the famous Oni tribe was so weak. He continued to charge deep into the encirclement, clearing out the stubborn remaining demons. The red demons screamed in despair as Noah's form swept past like a deadly wind. Afterward, Noah chose a high vantage point. He carefully observed the entire battlefield. Although the lizardman faction was seemingly winning, Noah still felt a sense of doubt in his heart. It began to dawn on him that this was just a decoy. His purple eyes hardened. Suspicion of a larger conspiracy began to rise. The true masterminds had not yet appeared, which meant the real objective lay elsewhere. Draconia, Noah shouted in alarm at the thought of the dragon city being under attack. From the cliff, he looked down at the battlefield below and realized this was the only route back. Unable to wait any longer, Noah decided to open the shortest path himself to rescue Draconia. Meanwhile, another army of red demons was secretly infiltrating the Draconia mountain range. The entire city was now submerged in a sea of fire, and bodies were strewn everywhere. Naturally, the leader Gazel was also present. He hadn't expected them to use a precious jewel to destroy an entire mountain. Master Fungus truly was a brilliant strategist. Hearing this, Fungus also gave a smug smile. Getting past those lizardmen was as easy as flipping a hand. Just as the two of them were moving forward, the hand of a lizardman soldier suddenly gripped his foot tightly. He muttered, trying to stop the monster. However, Gazel just quietly lifted his foot and kept walking without the slightest hindrance. Fungus turned back to look at him with a mocking gaze. Then he snapped his fingers to use his magic, creating a flame to incinerate the lizardman soldier's body. As expected, trash is best burned away, he said with a laugh, while Gazel advised, "You should save your mana." After all, the real battle was about to begin. The giant monster pulled back his leg and kicked open the door in front of him, then laughed and said, "Let's settle this, Dragon King." In front of him stood the Dragon King of the entire race, ready to fight. He shouted, "For the crimes you have committed against my people, pay for it with 10,000 times the price of death." Gazel and Fungus merely responded with smug smile.